Hot on the back of a very elegant day at Flemington for the Melbourne Cup of 2021. We turn our attention to horsepower of a different kind tonight, and racing of a different kind for that matter as well, as the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting take you to virtual South America, a critical sixth round, the midway point of the RSRA Goodyear Autocare Warana SuperSeries. 250 kilometres on the agenda tonight. The last big enduro hit out for these guys before they head to the mountain on Sunday, December 12. Yes, we're only 6 weeks away from the end of the season and the day-long marathon that is the Goodyear Autocare Warana Bathurst 1000. Good evening, everybody. Nice to have your company wherever you're tuning in all around Australia or indeed the world. Hope you're back the winner in the Cup earlier today. Hope you'll settle in for the night with us and enjoy 250 kilometres of motor racing, and what a night it promises to be. Compelling point of the championship. We'll have a look at the points for you in just a moment. But as I welcome in JP, it's Zach Caven in the commentary box with you as per usual on a Tuesday night. JP, welcome to you, mate. Critical point of the championship. Dylan Rudd with a lot of work to do to get back into the fight. Yes, there's a double points round at the end of the year that may well help him there, but at the end of the day, he is very much on the back foot after a disappointing outing last week, and of course not arriving on the grid the week before. However, he's arrived at the Interlagos circuit in Brazil with a point to prove, and this is the second time that we've seen a 250-kilometre endurance race in the top tier here in 2021. We did it back in Season 1 as well. Now Season 3, the last 250k hit out before the big one.
Good evening, Zach, and good evening, viewers. This is we're down to the business end of the season now, leading up into our 1,000-kilometre race for the as the season finale. And yeah, look, Dylan's got a big job ahead of him. You didn't compete in a round a couple of weeks ago, and now he's fallen right back into the championship, and so he's got some work to make some ground up on the leaders.
Yeah, he does. In fact, on that note, probably an opportune moment to have a look at championship points for you, ladies and gentlemen, let you know how things stand at this point in time. We'll update you on qualifying in just a moment because, boy, gee, it's one heck of a contest there. Don't worry about that. But, of course, 5 rounds down, 6 to go. And still a heck of a lot of championship points up for grabs in the Goodyear Autocare Warana SuperSeries. And it's Rehan Leonage on top. Only 28 points the margin to Rainer Costello, who's in second at the moment in qualifying, which is only a minute off concluding. Sean Mcnamara is only 9 points back from Rainer Costello, the senior statesman of the podium at the moment, if you like, because the two above him have a combined age of just 27. Let that sink in for a moment. But Sean is proving that the kids won't have it all their own way clearly here, because he has had a tremendous opening 5 rounds. Jamie Dyke on 680, 15 clear of Brian Borg, 665, and then Blake Delaney on 602, Jared Bailey and Simon Vella both on 600, 589 for Craig Schultz, and Dylan Rudd, there he is, 580, so 165 the margin. Rehan's got more than a round on Dylan at the moment, but as we say, that can all change with one bad result for anyone at the top end of the tree. Let's go over the page and find out where your favourite driver sits at this point in time. A couple of notables there, of course, David Kirby, Simon Chadwick, Dean Alessi, Jamie Davis down the back end of the top 20, Lindsay Hobbs as well. And it's going to be interesting to see how everyone attacks tonight, JP, because 250 kilometres, they've got an extra set of tyres at their disposal. We'll go through all the race info in just a moment. But some of these guys, yes, they've already done a 58 lapper around Interlagos this year. And given that it's a longer race, we do occasionally lean towards seeing a mix-up of the results sheet at the end of the night.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be a long race, 58 laps, so these guys are going to have to be a little bit measured, although some of them will bolt straight out of the gates as though this was a 10-lap sprint.
Absolutely right. Let's have a look at the race information on that note, ladies and gentlemen, because there's certainly a lot to try and get through in all of that. It's a 4.309 kilometre circuit. It's 58 laps. It's, if memory serves, just under 250 kilometres, but don't hold that against me. 72 kilometres an hour along pit lane. 58.8 litre fuel restriction for these guys, which equates to 3 stops. And 3.3 litres a lap of fuel burn. that is an average based on the medium of the field. The guys at the top end of town might do it a little bit better. The guys at the back end of the field might do it a little bit worse. But 3.3 is about what you can expect. 3 sets of tyres tonight, so an extra set to play with. And again, expect that to be in stops 2 and 3. And the critical lap here, based on the fuel numbers, 3.3 litres a lap to 58.8 litres, get you just under 18 laps, 17.81 or something like that, I think it rounded out to. So expect pit stops to start around 17, 18, maybe even 19. But if you take 17, 18, 19 away from 58, your critical lap is going to be about that 41, 40 mark. And you're there on the side of caution. You wouldn't say 39 because you need that little bit of extra fuel up your sleeve to get back to pit lane under your own steam once the checkered flag flies. So 40 and 41 will be the critical lap tonight. 75% race distance for the benefit of the allocation of championship points will be lap 44. So bear that in mind as well. 2nd of November 2021, that's the date, 8:25. Well, the race starts almost syncing up AM to PM to Australian Eastern Daylight Time, but I think at this time of the year, South America and the Interlagos circuit in Brazil is 13 hours behind, so it's not too far out of sync. 21 is the air temp, 32 on track, so it's nice and warm. 8 kilometre an hour southeasterly winds for you for this race tonight. Safety car heading out on the circuit, JP. Probably an opportune moment for us to jump on board with Lee Davis and get you to talk us through this magnificent piece of motor racing real estate. I've just labelled it on my personal Facebook page as the best circuit in South America, and it usually delivers some great racing.
Yeah, this track is an absolute cracker of a track. I absolutely love it. It's great to race around here. Let's see if we can pick up the safety car and see where he's at. So here we go. We'll let him do his thing, and I'll talk you through a lap of this track here. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do my customary hot lap this week, but hopefully I'll be able to get in the sim. My back won't be feeling too bad. I'll be able to get in the sim and do a hot lap for the next week's race.
Just as we wait for him to get round to the line, JP, I might let everybody know that next week we go back to... So we've been in the United States for the last 2 weeks. We come to South America. We then go back to the United States, Mid-Ohio, Road America, and then Summit Point before going to Europe en route to Australia with Donington Park squeezed in between Summit Point and Bathurst. So some big racing to come. Sprint racing will be the order of the day with the exception of Road America, which is round 8. And that will be our final super sprint of the season, but also our second of 3 Triple Crown rounds as well. Take it away, mate. Let's go for a lap of this 4.309 kilometre course. Yeah,
so crucial the exit onto this straight here. Bang up through the gears, make them nice and clean. Now, this car's going to have a lot more aero than the supercar, so it doesn't need to take as much track, but normally you take plenty of track here. On the brakes, you start to bleed the brakes off. You straight line this as much as you can. Take plenty of curb, and then you can start to get on the power nice and early coming through here. Now, normally the supercar will go all the way across to the other side of the track. Once again, start banging up through the gears nice and cleanly. You can't buzz the engine here, otherwise you lose 1/10 of a second every time. On the brakes, start to bleed off the brakes, turn in early. You're taking lots of track here, getting right up on the ripple strip, coming across to the other side, and this is a really interesting part of the circuit here. Little dab of the brakes, start to feather the brakes to help the car turn in, and you can just modulate the throttle and brakes here. Hard on the brakes. Now, normally we take a lot of curb here. Try to straight line this as much as we can. Second gear, some guys will take this corner in first gear and then short shift the second coming out of the chute here. Go all the way across to the other side of the track, and then cut back in again, first gear, short shift to second gear, hard on the throttle, little lift of the throttle here to help the car turn in. Back on the power as they come out here, they take all of that track and they get all the way across onto the AstroTurf on the other side. Take the corner here, early on the power, and that once again, through the gears, nice and clean. Get those apexes and they're on their way to the start-finish line, and that is a lap of Interlagos.
Oh, very nicely done, JP. Right, let's not muck around here. Let's go and have a look at the results from qualifying because, by gee, it was tight at the top. 1:31.731 was the pole time. That was from Dylan Rudd. I mentioned at the top of the broadcast that he's come out with a point to prove tonight. He's put it straight on top. You saw what he did in the 250-kilometre race in the last series. That was, of course, on the streets of Chicago. So it'll be interesting to see if he can apply that racecraft to Interlagos. The qualifying pace certainly suggests that he's here and he means business. Reina Costello and Rehan Leonage, the championship combatants, and then Sean McNamara. So the top three are second, third, and fourth on the grid. But 0.11 between the top three, 0.018 between first and second, and only not even a quarter of a second between the first four. Dylan Pereira was very close to Sean McNamara as well. Just have a look at some of these margins, these differentials. Jamie Dyke on the outside of the third row. Then Blake Delaney and Ben Morris separated by 5 thousandths of a second. Jared Bailey and Rick Sibra separated by 600ths of a second on the fifth row. So it's going to be a race where if it plays out the way we saw qualifying play out, you should see a lot of dance partner action going on as these guys look to do battle. And yeah, we should see some good racecraft, which is what we're all here for. David Coleman and David Kirby, nothing separated them on pace there during qualifying. So they're on row 6. Row 7 is where you'll find Simon Chadwick and Brenton Nitschke. Row 8, again, 100th of a second between Peter Crossingham and Hayden Norris. Dean Alessi had a 10th over Craig Schultz, and Dean Reddit in behind them alongside Stephen Bull. Back we go, back to row 11. It'll be Justin Pennefather and David Nash, Sam Noble and Brian Good, Bruce Tunnock and Chris Barnes, Robert Crisdale and Scott Barchin, Robbie Bradbury and Matthew Scholes. And rounding out the field, just the 32 on the grid, 1.6 separated the field. Dean Powell and Lindsay Hobbs make up that field. But, I mean, just over the top 20 separated by a second, which is astonishing. 1:31.73 for Dylan Rudd. 1:32.77 for Stephen Bull. Top 20 separated by smidgens over a second. Astonishing stuff. Speaks volumes of the closeness of the field, the quality of the field, and if that's reflected in what you see tonight in the race, there should be plenty of overtaking and dicing and dueling action. Getting set for a start. Midway point of the season. 5 rounds down at the end of the night. 5 to go. Round 6 underway. Goodyear Autocare Warana SuperSeries Interlagos 250. Beautiful start from Dylan Rudd. Moves across. Reina Costello had no choice but then to look back on the outside. That was beautiful from Reina Costello because he's going to make it work for himself on the inside going through turn 2. Oh, what a start from the youngster in the 44. Oh, that was phenomenal. Yeah, quickly down the back straight. Trouble at the back. We've got a little bit of carnage in turn 2, but we'll have a look at that in a moment as they head down for the first time. Reina Costello gets the jump. You saw what Dylan Rudd was trying to do there, JP. Oh, we've got a safety car. We've got the safety car deployed already, ladies and gentlemen, and it's on lap number 1. We've had an incident on the opening lap. I'll get back to the racecraft and the work of Dylan Rudd and Reina Costello in just a moment because that was brilliant off the line. But obviously, we've got a replay to have a look at.
Let's see if we can find this. I think it might have started with Chris Barnes, so we'll go back to the replay and we'll see what we can find.
Lap 1 of 58, and I was going to say, how long this night takes depends on safety cars. Yeah, no. 3 or 4 cars. Oh, up and over. Up and over went Barnes.
Just some really questionable driving there. I mean, seriously, I mean, how difficult is it to just put your foot on the brake and hold it there?
I'm not going to argue with that. I'm just trying to remember, JP. I think last time round we came here to Interlagos, we got through without a safety car for 58 laps back in season 1. Am I right?
Yeah, 100% there, mate. Look, I think maybe, you know, nerves, you know, over ambition. Look, you know, when you're sideways, the best thing you can do is just put your foot on the brake and hold there, not just let the car, you know, roll across the face of the track. I think the stewards are going to have a look at that, and probably post-race there are going to be a lot of questions asked.
Not unjustifiably so. So, lap 2 of 58, safety car has control of the field. Rainer Costello has the lead of the motor race from Dylan Rudd and Rehan Leonage. Sean McNamara, Blake Delaney, Dylan Pereira, Jamie Dyke, Rick Sibra, Jared Bailey and David Coleman made up the top 10 in all that. So, Blake Delaney and Rick Sibra both up 2 positions. There's been some big movers at the back of the field, including Brian Good up 6 positions into 18th, Robert Crisdale from 27th to 19th, Scott Barchin from 28th to 20th, Bruce Tunnock from 25th to 21st, Lindsay Hobbs from the very back of the field to 23rd, Matthew Scholes and Dean Power from 30th and 31st respectively, up into 24th and 25th. So the big losers in all of that, as we have a look again, Chris Barnes down 7, Robbie Bradbury down 2, 31st. In fact, Chris Barnes is currently showing behind the safety car. The safety car is 32nd on the classification order at the moment. That tells you how much of a shocker Chris Barnes has had, and it all started with this. So 1, 2, 3 cars involved and turned, and looks like Schultz was very lucky not to get the Chris Barnes treatment there, and that's what I mean. Bush car up and over and down and gone. And that was unfortunate from David Nash. It was the 911 reversing into Chris Barnes there. Now, whether
have a look
Nash
at car 35 here.
Or not, I'm not entirely sure, JP.
Sorry, Zach. Have a look at car 35 here. I mean, he just keeps driving through Chris Barnes there. That, to me, look, that's completely unacceptable.
Yeah, you feel for Chris Barnes in all of that. He's going to be down in pit lane for quite a while, I would think, getting repairs. Sounds like we've got movement. We've got cars back underway. So just the one-lap safety car there. We are back underway at the Interlagos circuit in Brazil, and immediately Rainer Costello chops across to try and defend Dylan Rudd, and does just that. Very nicely done. There on the outside goes Sean McNamara on Rehan Leonage. Brilliant piece of driving from the pair of them. Rehan gives way, and McNamara gets through into 3rd. Oh, brilliant restart from Sean McNamara. Quickly as well, JP. The other drivers caught up in that. Craig Schultz down 10 positions. Dean Reddit down 8 positions. Then 28th and 27th respectively. Stephen Bull down 9. Robbie Bradbury down 1. And David Nash down 9. They have those last 3. Bull, Bradbury and Nash have all pitted and have returned to the racetrack. I'm not sure. I don't think they were right on the back of the safety car queue at the end of that lap. Chris Barnes still remains in pin lane, obviously. Here they come for the first time. Great restart from Rainer Costello. So we didn't get a chance because we were analysing replay, but the safety car was only out for 1 lap as well. So there's 2 things that I want to talk about here as we ride on board with Dylan Rudd. Following Rainer Costello through, this is the first time since Hungary that Rainer Costello's had clear air at the front end of town with the pack bearing down on him, and it's good to see. He's back in town. He means business in the RSRA Goodyear Autocare Warana SuperSeries. So because pole position was on the outside of the racetrack, Dylan Rudd needed an awesome start. He didn't exactly get it. He had to move across quite readily and quickly, hurriedly, to try and block off the attack of Rainer Costello. Rainer saw that coming, moved straight across to the outside and thought, I'll try and go one better and go around your outside through turn 1, give myself the inside for turn 2. It was brilliant racecraft that early into the motor race from those 2. Unfortunately, we can't say the same for what was going on behind them. But have a look at this now as we ride on board with Dylan Rudd still at the start of lap 4. And we are watching Rudd and Costello do their thing. Great attack so far from Dylan Rudd. And this is exactly what I was saying at the start of the race there, JP. If these 2, among others throughout the field that was separated by the barest of margins in qualifying, if they stick together like glue, we're not going to know where to look tonight. The other point that comes with that safety car being so early, the amount of fuel those guys saved on lap 1 and lap 2 could well stretch out this fuel window by a couple of laps. We're talking about lap 18. It could be as far out as lap 20. And given that we've got 2 pit stops to come after that, it'll be interesting to see whether they take tyres first stop or second stop and how they alter their strategy from there. And maybe if we get another safety car, you might see some serious fuel save go on. A couple of drivers might even be able to make it without that third stop.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be a really interesting race, and it's going to be great to see how it unfolds.
Through they go.
I tell you what, Rayner's not getting away with it. Dylan is right there. He gets himself a little bit of a lead going through the back of the track, but Dylan has that advantage of the toe going through that long section leading to the control line.
Now, other interesting point, you can see that Rehan Leonage is sticking with these guys as well. Mcnamara has closed right in on his teammate. So you're going to have the two teammates no doubt wanting to work together. Two notable things here. We didn't mention this off the top, but no Brian Borg out there tonight. That's one thing that I've just picked up on as we've got going here. The second thing is that only a couple of weeks ago, we saw these guys go hammer and tong for 200 kilometres around the streets of Long Beach. It was McNamara, Leonage, and Borg. It was the week that Dylan Rudd was absent. I don't think this is going to play out anywhere near like what Long Beach did, as we see a move down there on the inside. Oh, that was... Oh, jeez, I tell you what. These guys are going at it tonight. That's further back in the field that you're looking at there at the moment. I'm just trying to pick up a number as they come through. That's number 12. Barchin is there in the 90, and Lindsay Hobbs is alongside him around his outside in the 12. That's a beautiful move from Lindsay Hobbs, but he's not going to have the line for the next corner. Barchin hangs there. Remains there, but Lindsay Hobbs wants to go right around the outside and force the issue a little bit more. This is awesome stuff. We're going to see this all night long, all the way through the field, which is exactly the point I was making, JP. This isn't going to be anywhere near as processional as what Long Beach was, because overtaking opportunities, whilst they're not easy to execute, as has already been proven tonight, there are more of them readily available to these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. There are plenty of overtaking opportunities, and really, unless somebody breaks a driver's back, like Rayner's going to be wanting to try to get out on Dylan Rudd, get over a second on him so he doesn't fall victim to that toe. But on a track like this, it's very, very difficult to do, and he doesn't want to go and overdrive things too early in the piece. He needs to make sure that he maintains his tyres.
Absolutely, and even with the luxury of having an extra set available to them. So that's the other big difference, isn't it, between 2 weeks ago, Long Beach, they only had two sets of tyres. The set they started on, the set they finished on. Now, they've got 3 sets of tyres. So they've got the set they start on, and out of 2 of the 3 pit stops, they'll be able to take a fresh set, and it's up to the drivers. And that selection process, that's going to be one of the talking points, and that could be the difference at the end of the night here as Rayner pulls a couple of car lengths on Dylan Rudd. But watch Rudd claw it back in the slipstream here down the main straight. He got a great exit off that last sequence of corners there at the end of the third intermediate, and Rudd claws it back under brakes as they come to turn 1. McNamara's right there. Rehan Leonage just in behind them. This is now lap 7 of the Interlagos 250. We take chopper cam as they head down the back straight. So Rehan Leonage has made a habit this season, JP, of taking the tyres early. That could be the difference tonight. Where you take your tyres, where you choose to play your cards. And bearing in mind that we've said at the top the critical number is lap 41 in terms of you can fuel up there and get home. It'll be interesting to see how far they stretch out those second and third stints, whether they alter their strategies to therefore alter where they take on those tyres, and how long they're going to be running with a fresh batch for at the end of the race. Because if you can go through the first 3 stints on 2 sets of tyres and have a fresh set up your sleeve for those last 6 or 7 laps, if you want to play the long game, it could well be very interesting, and all bets could be off when we get to lap 58.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, the whole concept of taking tyres early, it's a great idea, but you need to be able to get a significant margin on the cars behind you. Otherwise, they just catch up to you once they take their fresh tyres, and you're stuck on the old rubber.
Yep, and And we've seen it work
Have a
both
look at
ways
this.
for Rehan Leonard so far this season. Here we go. Here's an opportunity for Dylan Rudd. Not quite. He'll follow Rainer Costello through for the moment. Although that being said, let me come back to this. What's going on screen here in a moment. The short fuel and take tyres early has worked for Rehan Leonard once this season, and it's gone against him once this season. It worked in his favour very early on. I think it was circuit at Barcelona, Catalunya. But then it backfired last week because Jamie Dyke was able to towel him up in the last stint there. Now, multiple car contact, the 30-second stop and hold penalty for car 469. That is Brian Good, and that'll be for what happened on lap 1 there. And that's a penalty, JP, that's going to cruel Brian Good's night, unfortunately.
Yeah, look, absolutely. Race control take no prisoners at all. And if they deem that Brian Good was the cause of that crash, and of course there were multiple cars involved, from the schedule of penalties and offences, they're going to dole out the required penalty. And that's what they've done in this case.
There it is. Let me just check in and see who's having a comment here on social media. Quite a few people having a chat to us at this point in time. I'll try and get back to those comments shortly. Drive-through penalty also for car 953. So, if memory serves, that's Simon Chadwick, is it not?
Just having a look now. I think you might be Simon Chadwick's actually 957.
No, Sam Noble.
Sam Noble, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, so for anyone that's tuning in at home, it's a case of 951 Sean McNamara, 953 Noble, 957 Chadwick, 956 Crossingham, and they're yet to allocate 954, 955, 958, and yeah, you see where I'm going with all of that. But there are quite a few 9-5 numbers out there, so apologies for that. But Sam Noble's obviously been caught up in some garbage, and will pay the price for that with a drive-through penalty, as you just saw on the screen there as well. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, this is just awesome and tense and tight. And every corner is critical at this point. You need to be switched on from go to O. It needs to be precision driving, because if you make a mistake, particularly if your name's Rainer Costello, there are 3 drivers bearing down on you, willing to relieve you of your position as the race leader. The first is Dylan Rudd, then Sean McNamara. But look at this as well. Rehan Leonard, Blake Delaney, Jamie Dyke all in behind too. Don't rule out Jamie Dyke after that awesome performance last week. Lap traffic as a result of that early garbage that you saw that triggered the first safety car of the night. That might not be an issue now, because lap traffic was heading towards and is heading towards pit lanes. So that doesn't become the issue that we thought it might as they head down the main straight once more. So we start lap 10. At the Interlagos circuit in Brazil. 1/6 race distance here, and avoidable contact, no lift on car 74 for the number 35. Now, JP mentioned that might be an issue for Robbie Bradbury. He's going to get a drive-through penalty as well. So race control, JP, still going through the tape with what happened 9 laps ago. Going to be a busy night for those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, they won't take any prisoners. They will opt to give penalties during the race if they can. Post-race penalties being the last option. Now, have a look at this. Have a look at Dylan Rudd behind Rainer Costello. I'm getting the impression that Dylan is sizing Rainer up. He's had a couple of opportunities to put a move on Rainer. He's chosen not to. Now, that could be because, well, sitting behind Rainer is going to help him save a little bit of fuel. And he might be lulling Rainer into a bit of a sense of false security. When he least expects it, he'll just pop out and go for a lunge.
A couple of people seeking clarification on why there was no hot lap. It had nothing to do with the Melbourne Cup, ladies and gentlemen, just to quell those rumours. Someone suggested that you might have been too busy on the punt today, mate. We know that wasn't the case. And on that note, actually, can we just say a big shout out and g'day to one of your mates at work there at Goodyear Autocare Warana in Aaron. Wish him all the best, because he's not been well of late. And also our own Mark Duggan in race control. He's off to hospital for a bit of routine surgery tomorrow, so we wish him all the best as well. But still, showing commitment right to the very end. He's here in race control with us the eve of going to hospital. So how's that for dedication? Lap 11 of 58, and it is Reina Costello just over Dylan Rudd. They've put 5 car lengths on Mcnamara and Leonage, and then look at the chasing pack as well. I mean, Jamie Dyke's there in 6th place, in behind Blake Delaney. Delaney having an awesome run at the moment. Of course, Delaney was in here post-race last week. That's how good a run he had last week, and he's obviously taken a tremendous confidence booster from that and put himself right there in contention again for the podium tonight, JP.
Yeah, great driving by Blake Delaney. Great to see some different faces up the pointy end of the grid. So and the field racing there.
Someone also asking the question: can Dylan Pereira's engine survive for a change? It cried foul at the 160k mark last week. It's got to go an extra 90 kilometres tonight, so that will be interesting. Speaking of interesting, geez, the elbows are. That is Simon Chadwick this time, and David Kirby.
I think I've got a new name for Simon. I think we're going to call him Mr. Fabulous. He's probably one of the most flamboyant racers in the field.
And with good reason too. Sometimes you need to get the elbows out down in that mid-section of the field.
And he makes 12, it work for himself.
For each time one they go. Absolutely he does. And more power to him if he can do that. There are some drivers who try it and it doesn't work for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, keep an eye out. Maybe for Bathurst, we'll have a new name for Simon Chadwick, Mr. Fabulous.
Just also pointing out, for those of you just tuning in, we did have a comment here, and I only just got a chance to have a look at it now, regarding to 35, Robbie Bradbury. It might be my favourite comment of the night. He might have a case to answer for with the police. Don't worry about race control. And that was for that incident where he turned Chris Barnes head over heels. And then, of course, got slapped with a 30-second stop and hold penalty, did Robbie Bradbury. He's still out there on circuit at the moment, down in 25th position.
Here's another danger man, Jamie Dyke. He's just been coming on the last few rounds. Last round he won the Coda round, and now look at him. He's just ranging up on the back of Blake Delaney.
It was a seriously impressive performance from Jamie Dyke last week. Don't worry about that. And it's been a while coming. You've seen the potential there. And last week, it was just one of those instances where he was able to tick all the boxes and it worked for him. And all the hard work paid off. And don't rule him out of another win before the season is out, let me tell you. Now, have a look at this. Chadwick. Oh, he tucks back in. He was wanting to have a look there on Kirby. And, of course, Kirby's all over the back of Crossingham. This is 11th, 12th and 13th you're having a look at the moment. Rick Sibra's up there in 10th position just ahead of this gaggle. Lap 13 of 58 for you. Lap 15 will be 25%. Lap 29 will be halfway. Lap 44 will be 75% race distance. Now, 75% race distance is important because it means championship points will be awarded. You'll be classified as a finisher. However, all these guys will have their eyes on lap 58, not lap 44, let me tell you. And again, before anyone says it, no, it's not because of red flags and stoppages, because iRacing won't allow that yet. Sure, it's in a patch update probably 3 years down the track. But for those of you that statisticians out there, you'll know that 75% race distance constitutes a race, means classifications. So they're the two things that we want to cover off there right off the top with regards to all of that. This is a good little fight, JP, but we're seeing it right throughout the field. I mean, you look at our live timing monitor, the screen is lit up orange and yellow, and that's always a good sign that things are tight.
Yeah, absolutely. There are battle packs all the way up and down the field tonight, so great to see the kind of racing. You know, a little bit of a hiccup there at the start, but after that, everything seems to be going along pretty well.
Indeed, as they make their way through once more onto the main straight. We've got Bruce Tannock in pit lane. You just saw that there at the bottom of your screen. So at this point in time, Scott Barchin's a lap down. Actually, Scott Barchin's more than a lap down. He's 2 laps down. Brian Good is 3 laps down. David Coleman's several laps down. Chris Barnes as well. However, and Brenton Nitschke is, it looks like Brenton Nitschke and Chris Barnes are actually retired and out of business. No, sorry, I apologise. Chris Barnes is still out there and circulating. I'm just going to check in with the iRacing server. David Coleman had manually disconnected and has reconnected. So he was going to retire, and Brenton Nitschke has, however. So we've lost Brenton Nitschke. He is definitely out of the race. What's important here, JP, as well, is for all those guys remembering no fast repairs in the RSRA Super Series, and incident points get applied. Penalties apply at 16x and every 9x thereafter for those that are asking the question at home as well. What's important to note here is we mentioned the 44 laps and the 75%. It's not just with regards to classification for those that may retire or anything like that. It's those that run into early race trouble and have to fight their way to the finish line several laps down. If they can get to 44, they'll get classified. If not, they'll be classified as a non-finisher or listed as a non-finisher, not classified. So 15 to 58 here, the Interlagos circuit, Sao Paulo, Brazil, our only South American round of the year, and our only trip outside of the United States in this 6-week swing, which leads us towards round 10 at Donington Park. That'll be the next non-Americas round of the championship. The North and South America have been a heartland of the RSRA Super Series this season. We've enjoyed it immensely, but we are, of course, looking forward to being back on home soil on the 12th of December with the RSRA Goodyear Autocare Warana Bathurst 1000, when we team up with all the drivers from Super 2 and the Super Series. They're all going to be on track on the same day, and looking forward to that immensely. I believe we should have some information from JP towards the back end of the broadcast as well with regards to how entries are looking for that particular day. I know they are the organising committee here that put the series together for you. We've been working feverishly to try and get entries locked and loaded, ready to go for that second Sunday in December. So keep your eyes peeled for more information with regards to that. In the meantime, let's have a look at this. Dylan, I think that's Dylan Pereira in there in position number 9. So you're looking at Jared Bailey and Benny Morris. Now you're looking at the race leaders. Now you're looking at Dylan Rudd all over the back of Reina Costello. Reina has led every single lap here thus far. We're at the end of lap 15, on to lap 16. 25% race distance. Reina Costello leads them through.
Sorry, something must have happened to Dylan there, because he dropped back really quickly. He dropped back to almost half a second going into turn 1 there. Maybe Rayner's just that good under brakes going into turn 1 that he seems to be able to peel away from Dylan.
Could be as simple as that. And one thing you'll notice as we go throughout the night, JP, and certainly the viewers at home will notice as well, he's Ben Morris having a crack down on the inside, not going to get it done on Jared Bailey. Tucks back in for the moment, sitting in 8th is Ben Morris. Bailey was wide. Morris is going to get through. Very nicely done from Ben Morris. Bailey now back up on the outside. Here comes Dylan Pereira wanting a piece of the action as well. No, thank you. Rick Sibras just latching on to the back of this and having the time of his life. Simon Chadwick has gapped David Kirby in position number 11 right there. In fact, David Kirby's in pit lane now. Whether that's strategic or not, I'm not entirely sure, but given we're lap 15, he can still stop twice and make it home comfortably from there. There's no issues with that. So maybe a strategic ploy from the team at Calamari Racing at this point in time. Reina Costello leads them back around. And that's the thing I was going to say, JP. You're going to notice throughout the course of the night that different drivers are suited to different parts of this circuit in better ways. And for Reina, it's all in this first sector. Just have a look at this again through turn 1. Beautiful.
Yeah, once again, going into turn 1, he puts half a second on Dylan Rudd. However, going through to turn 2 and 3, he's sort of compromised there, and Dylan gets a much better exit out of turn 1 and makes that time back up on Reina.
Indeed he does. Through they go again. Lap 17 of 58. So this was originally the critical number that we were talking about for the first round of pit stops, but with that safety car, That may well get them out to as far as lap 20, which I'm just trying to work it out, JP, and I'd love your insight on this, mate. I just have this feeling that if we can stretch it to lap 20, they might just be caught between a rock and a hard place with regards to the decision whether they stay on this set of rubber or take a fresh batch at that point in time, 20 laps in.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting bit of strategy. I had one driver tonight tell me that they think that they can do it in 2 stops, which is really ambitious, but it'll be very interesting to see if they try that strategy. And if they do try that strategy, we'll out that driver at the end of the night.
Indeed we will. He won't have a say in the matter. We'll out him first before he even gets in here. 18 of 58. What's interesting for mine is that was the thought before safety cars. So, I mean, if you get another safety car, you might see a few more cotton onto the fact that they, with a bit of fuel saving and a bit of smart racecraft, they too may be able to do it in 2 stops. It could be the difference in the end. Obviously, that first round of safety cars helps the driver in question. We'll wait and see if the safety car makes yet another appearance later on in the night. But given that we saw Race Control deploy the safety car with that rollover, I think that sets the standard. It's going to take a big accident, a big shunt, to warrant the safety car's presence on the circuit tonight. Through they come again. Morris, Bailey, Herrera, Sibber and Chadwick. Now a 5-way fight for position number 7. Now, this is exactly what I said at the top of the call. Top 6, throw a handkerchief over them. Top 5, next 5, I should say, throw half a handkerchief over them. That's how tightly batched this field is at the moment. And it is so good to see. And this circuit lends itself to that pack racing, that slipstreaming and drafting. Yep. The difference is those middle sequence of corners and those heavy braking markers and slower corners, but there is enough real estate within the 4.309 kilometre course to bunch this pack up, to promote good racecraft. This is very different to Long Beach in that regard. It's very different to Coda as well. And by virtue of what we saw in the 58 lapper last season, or it was last season. I was, for some reason, I said it was 2 seasons ago. No, it was last season. 58 lapper around the Interlagos circuit in Brazil. The fact that you've got these guys so tightly bunched, this is exactly how it played out last time, JP. We lined up here. Last time we did this, we weren't sure of the sort of spectacle we would get over 58 laps, whether it would be a fizzer or an instant classic, and it ended up being an instant classic. This one, well on the way to joining it.
Yeah, absolutely. I reckon we're going to see a flurry of stops. If we don't see it this lap, we'll see it next lap. Interesting question. Will Jesberg has asked if 35 has served his penalty. Well, yeah, he should have served his penalty. Otherwise, he would have been disqualified from the race by Race Control.
Correct. And it's at Race Control's discretion from this point forward as well. Nice move there on the inside. That was Chris Dale getting relegated.
Here we go. Mcnamara and Leonage are in.
So Mcnamara and Leonage take the plunge. Costello and Rudd go for another lap. So this is lap 20. At the end of this, there'll be just 38 laps to go. My numbers suggest that it's a 3-stopper, but obviously, as JP has already said, there's one driver in the field. Oh, no, that's unfortunate. We saw one of the drivers there miss their box and have to back up a little bit.
That was Jamie Dyke.
That was Jamie Dyke. He is Dylan Pereira into his pit box now. He come in and slotted himself in nicely. Now, will Leonage try and undercut these guys at this point, or is he thinking long game tonight? Are they reinventing the wheel with their strategy? They're reinventing the wheel. Mcnamara and Leonage side by side coming out of the pit lane. Leonage eventually gets the spot. Mcnamara yields. Dyke lost a lot of ground in all of that. It's a game of inches, and unfortunately he missed his pit box, and that's cost him a couple of seconds there, Jamie Dyke, but he's not out of contention just yet. So, but this is the interesting thing. As JP said, there's one driver in the field that thinks they can stretch it to make it a two-stop race. Be interesting to see how that driver is feeling about things at this point in time, because my numbers suggest 17, 18 is about what you're going to get to a full run. So it would take a lot of saving to stretch it out to, well, what have you got to get? You've got to get two 20s and an 18, or a 20 and two 19s, bearing in mind that then as we see them come into pit lane now, first and second right in now, right on cue, into pit lane, Dylan Rudd, Reina Costello, of course, on pit road. That's been a brilliant opening stint from the pair of them. Stayed 1 and 2 every step of the way, and Reina Costello, the race leader, as they head into pit lane at the start of lap 21.
So
Dylan, was beautifully done from both of them. Precision.
Dylan Rudd will have the advantage of being able to go straight out of pit lane there. You see, he cannot clear that cone, and race control won't expect him to clear that cone. So he might be advantaged by doing that.
Let's watch them wait and see. Now, a 20 and two 19s get you home at two 20s and an 18. Oh, it's centimetres in this. It's centimetres in it, and Costello's held on. Wow. Bearing in mind that you've also got to take into consideration with that last round of pit stops as well, JP, that you've got to have enough fuel in the tank to get home under your own steam post-race. Down the back straight. Have a look at this. The kid has done it again. Ihan Leonage has done it again. This is extraordinary from Leonage. The championship leader has somehow found his way to the front. They're not playing the same strategy as last week. We know that already. He stayed in the box just as long as Mcnamara did. In fact, it was 0.2 in it just in favour of Leonage, and that's good enough to merit him the lead. He was 4th going into that round of pit stops. This kid is having some sort of season. It continues tonight here at the Interlagos circuit in Brazil, but by GJP, there's still a long way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And how about that pit exit by Costello and Rudd? Neither of them were giving each other an inch. But look, to each of them their credit, you know, Rudd didn't hit Costello. He gave him just enough room. He knew when Costello had the overlap, and he just let him go.
Down the main straight, on to lap 22. So, just for the benefit of those at home, JP, because this is the point that I'm trying to get to, with regards to fuel saving, if there's one driver that thinks that they can do this on just one more stop from here, I mean, okay, helped by the fact that the first round of pit stops is stretched out to lap 19, 20 instead of 17, 18. Just how much fuel saving is going to have to go on, and how difficult is that going to be to achieve? To do this on 2 stops from here, provided that we don't have another safety car, because I think if we do have another safety car, it becomes a 2-stop race for everybody. Look,
I think based on the pace that we're seeing tonight, a 2-stop race is going to be a big call. They're going to have to do a fair bit of fuel saving, and try to be in a position where they can get a good amount of tow, so to be able to make that happen.
It is all happening here on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting, wherever you're tuning in, all around Australia or indeed the world. What a way to spend Melbourne Cup night, eh?
Now,
10 past 9 Australian Eastern Daylight Time, and have a look at this. The commitment from everybody going into turn 12. It's Leonage by 5 car lengths to Costello. Same gap, maybe a little bit more, then back to Dylan Rudd. Rudd under pressure from Delaney, then Dyken. Poor old Sean Mcnamara has been the one that's been hung out to dry and all of that, JP. He was running 3rd. He's now running 6th. So Leonage up 3. Mcnamara down 3 based on where they were going into that round of pit stops.
Having said that, though, maybe these cars have taken fresh tyres, and Mcnamara has chosen not to.
Yeah, that's a fair point too. Could well be the case. Oh boy, talk about pressure here at the Interlagos circuit in Brazil. Lap 23 of 58. Leonage, the horse is bolting. Costello's trying to go Rudd, Delaney, Dyke and McNamara. Benny Morris having a good run. Under pressure from Jared Bailey and Dylan Pereira. David Kirby's got Rick Zebra and Simon Chadwick for company. So battle packs right through the top 12 at this point in time. It will wear the voice box out before the end of the night, I am sure. Through the left-hander. On the way up towards the right.
Oh.
Kirby trying to get down the inside of Zebra. Contact. And gone. Chadwick as well. Matt all stemmed, and Kirby's got another one for good measure. Oh, no, geez. How lucky can you be? That car that was coming through first at full tilt. That's unfortunate, but that all started with a contact. Kirby on Zebra. Have a look at this on replay as they just plummet down the order. Down the inside. Kirby, was he up far enough? Oh, it doesn't look like it. And just the smallest of touches into Rick Zebra, who was not going to save it from there. And that ended up being messy, but thankfully we get through without a safety car being deployed, JP.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a look at this from the drone cam perspective. Now, Chadwick gets out sideways here. He just gives Kirby another tap. Now, this is where it gets really interesting because Chadwick gets going again. Now, he manages to be able to get going and doesn't make contact with Robert Crisdale coming through here. So that was really fortunate.
Peter Crossingham, the big winner in all of that. He just came through and swept up the pieces and said, thanks for coming. He's moved up into position number 10 in all of that now. So on the subject of big movers and shakers throughout the course of the night, first, second and third started third, second and first. So there's not much movement going on there. Blake Delaney started 7th up into 4th. Down the order, Peter Crossingham from 15th up to 10th. Robert Crisdale, the hard charger at the moment, 27th up to 11th. Everything else piles into insignificance in all of that. Rick Zebra 10th down to 15th. Dean Power, 31st up to 16th. Bruce Tunnock, 25th down or up into 17th, I should say. 18th and 19th remain where they started. And the other big mover, Lindsay Hobbs, 32nd up into 20th. So might have been a poor qualifying, but Lindsay Hobbs is making the most of the shortcomings and misfortunes of those around him at this point in time. Also down the order, 29th to 26th is Robbie Bradbury, but he's a minute 10 off the pace. That'll be by virtue of the fact of coming in and having served that stop and hold, I would imagine. And 30th up to 22nd, Matty Scholes. Chris Barnes is 9 laps down. David Coleman, 15. I think Coleman's out of the race. And actually, Stead Miller has... no, that's all right. Just having a look down here. David Coleman manually disconnected, then reconnected. And we also had Brenton Nitschke disconnect. So I'm not sure what the state of play for Coleman is. But the problem for him, JP, is he's 15 laps down, which means he won't get classified anyway, regardless of whether he makes it to the finish or not. Yeah,
100%. He won't get classified. You need to complete 75% of the race to be able to be classified for the race, and that's not going to happen for him. But just want to talk about this guy here on track at the moment that we're watching, Lindsay Hobbs. He's probably one of, he doesn't get a lot of airtime, but he is definitely one of the most tenacious racers in the series. You know, he and not only is he tenacious, but he's also a very fair racer.
And that's the sort of competitor you want in the series, absolutely. He's applying the pressure there to Craig Schultz. Now I think Schultz is collateral in all of that.
Yeah,
because Schultz is down the order.
His car is looking very second-hand at the minute.
Now here's a drive-through penalty for David Kirby for that multiple car contact on lap 23. So he's got pinged for 2 for the price of 1. 2 incidents, 1 penalty. In fact, if anything, that's actually a bargaining deal there, and David Kirby's actually come off for that better for wear than otherwise he might have. So he'll cut his losses, I'm sure, and look to get back into it on the back of serving that penalty. Meanwhile, back at the front, Rehan Leonage, Rainer Costello doing an awesome job. Ben Dylan Rudd, Blake Delaney, Jamie Dyke and Sean McNamara. That's how close it is, folks. We have been racing for 25 laps. We're on lap 26. Race time suggests that we've been underway for 42 minutes of racing so far here, and it just keeps getting with Rehan Leonage doing his thing at the front of the field, as we've so often become accustomed to seeing him do throughout the course of the season. Back we go. There's the 06 and the 34. Dean Alessi, of course, the 34. Hayden Norris, the 020. And make their way through one more time.
Now, lap time.
Thankfully, it's been relatively clean.
Yeah, it's been a relatively clean race. Look, lap times would suggest that no one's actually gone on to new tyres at this stage. I mean, the top 7, they're in the low 34s. Everybody else is in the 35s or even higher. So I think they've not jumped onto their fresh tyres, and maybe some of them are even trying to do a little bit of fuel saving. We've got Jeff Eddy watching us here from the United States of America, from New York. Correct me, Jeff, if I'm wrong. Jeff is actually races in the Super 2 series. We've got a few people from New Zealand, but no one from America. Jeff is our sole American competitor in the Super 2 series. So welcome to the broadcast, mate.
Yeah, very good morning to him. Only 6:18 on a Tuesday morning over there in the United States.
That's commitment for you.
On the east, at least it's about quarter past. Absolutely, it's about 3:15 on the west coast. I don't envy them if they're up watching at this point in time, but we thank them if they are. Great to have your company on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting all around Australia. We're almost at half race distance here, if you can believe that. Don't forget, post-race show coming up at the end of the broadcast for you too, ladies and gentlemen. We'll have the top 3 in here for a chat at what is essentially the halfway point of the season. And I mean that in a point sense, because obviously with the final round counting as 2 rounds with the double point system, there's still going to be 900 race win points up for grabs across the remaining, what have we got? 5 rounds, 6 races in the RSRA Super Series for Goodyear Autocare Warana. Through they go again. This has been, a little bit wide there going through turn 1. So that's gonna hurt Delaney and Dyke. Now, Sean Mcnamara is on pit road. This is interesting, JP, because as soon as you said, it seems as though none of these guys are taking tyres, that immediately brought in the reverse strategy into play, didn't it? Because now Mcnamara's gone on a short stint, come through, said, righto, thank you very much, throw some fresh rubber at it. He's immediately conceded this is a 3-stop race. We know there's at least one driver in this field trying to make it on 2 stops. We don't know if anyone else is trying that strategy as yet. However, John Mcnamara will concede that this is a 3-stop race for him by virtue of the fact that he's come in this early. But by doing that, fresh set of rubber, long stint, get him up to about lap 41, 42, then take the second fresh set, get himself home to the checkered flag. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works, whether the reverse strategy works or whether this strategy where you stay out there for as long as you can and then call it to pit lane, whether that works. Glass half full, glass half empty could go either way. It's one of those situations, isn't it? It just depends on how much traffic, I guess, Mcnamara gets caught in out here on the racetrack as the rest of the field headed around for another lap. So no interest in the pit lane from those guys this time by. And there is Sean Mcnamara boxed in at this point in time.
So he's right behind Hayden Norris, who he'll probably make quick work of now. That's going to cost him a little bit of time, but I would be, at this stage, if I am Rehan or Rayner, I would be looking to see what Dylan does. If Dylan comes into the pits in the next lap, I would cover them off, because they would have they'd definitely be running a strategy there. And you do not want these guys on fresh rubber getting away from you.
Absolutely not. 29 or 58, wherever you're tuning in around Australia. So this time by the line for Rehan Leonage will mark half race distance. There are a few drivers still struggling to get there at this point, but I'm pleased to say we've still got 30 cars out there circulating at this point in time of the 32 that started. David Coleman, Brenton Nitschke, the only retirements thus far. Nitschke on lap, look like lap 4, and Coleman at the start of lap 9. Rehan Leonage, what a superb performance this has been. I mean, this is maturity well beyond his years, isn't it, JP? Because he didn't get his elbows out in that first stint. He just sat quietly, patiently, and calmly in behind the top three. Let them go at it. And there wasn't too much jockeying for position there either. And then he's just said, you know what? I'll use my wheelhouse, which is pit strategy, to work my way ahead of you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And he has just, I mean, pretty much driven flawlessly. When we saw young Rehan come onto the scene, his first season, he had a few really good races, made a couple of rookie mistakes. Last season, he made a couple of rookie mistakes in the top split, but this season he's just been getting better and better. And with guidance from his dad, Laz, he's really become a force. Now, we've got a car off track here. No, he's let everyone else. Yeah, Rehan's become a force, and everybody else knows it, and no one is taking him for granted now.
Absolutely not. There's no further action also on the redressed position incident between cars 61 and 9, Dylan Pereira and Jared Bailey. So, lap 30, second half of the race underway for you, 47.24 to halfway. So we're on track for about an hour and, just over an hour and a half of competition for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And that'll depend also on the fact that we could have another safety car, we might not. We might go flat tilt to the checkered flag from here on in. We'll wait and see. Round they come again.
Can you believe, Zach, I've been asking teams to tell me what their strategy is, and no one wants to tell me.
No, I'm not overly surprised by that. Everyone likes keeping their cards close to their chest for some reason. JP, you wouldn't play poker with these blokes.
No, hell no. Somebody told me that they didn't have a strategy, so I employed the liar pants on fire defence, and that hasn't worked.
No. They're very good at their craft. There's no doubt about that. They'll give nothing away.
And
it's true they go again.
It's great to see as well.
Yeah, but I guess that just goes to show that many hands make light work in this situation. So many of these guys have people that they lean upon, people that don't race, people that tune in, watch these races and do it from a technical standpoint, do it from a calculation standpoint. There's someone there crunching the numbers for these guys. It's amazing how many people are involved in a sport that you can essentially do from the comfort of your own living room.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this is really interesting. Sean Mcnamara, he's just done a purple sector. His last lap time was a 1:33.744. Rehan Leonage did a 1:34.5, so he is coming on like gangbusters.
And there we go. So new tyres doing the trick, it would seem, for Sean Mcnamara at this point in time. There he is on screen doing his thing. 9.5 Simsport, well represented in this field. They are going to be a force to be reckoned with when we get to the mountain on December 12th. We cannot wait to have your company for the Goodyear Autocare Warana Bathurst 1000. We're going to have 3 massive broadcasts that week. And close enough to 12 hours of coverage from the best event of the year. It'll start with qualifying on the Tuesday night, then the top 10 shootout on the Saturday for an hour and a half of action there for you between 4:30 and 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. And then, of course, the big one, the all-day marathon from 9 a.m. right through to 5 p.m. on the Sunday. Here is a move down on the inside. Dean Powell. That was sketchy at best.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Look, I mean, he had to have a go, but he just got himself all crossed up and unfortunately just couldn't complete the transaction.
Exactly right. There'll be an invoice to settle for that, no doubt, later on as well. And good to see Meatloaf making his first appearance of the season as well on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting as well. 32 of 58 for you. He was Sean Mcnamara. We're still following him at the moment. Rehan Leonage leads by almost a second over Rainer Costello. Dylan Rudd's about half a second back from him. Then Blake Delaney and Jamie Dyke just sitting off the back of that pack at first, second, and third there. We're in first, second, and third. Ben Morris is sixth. Then Dylan Pereira, Jared Bailey, Peter Crossingham, and Sean McNamara. Let's go on board with the 951. He's sitting third in the championship at this point in time. And we're going to let you listen to him hard at work around the Interlagos circuit. Yep, it's time on lap 33 to crank up the volume. Riding on board with Sean McNamara. How good was that? Around the 4.309 kilometre Interlagos circuit in Brazil. Nice to have you company wherever you're tuning in all around Australia or indeed the world of the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. It is Tuesday night motorsport. It is round 6 of the RSRA Goodyear Autocare Warana SuperSeries. The Interlagos 250, of course, the last of the Enduro hitouts. We've already had a mini Enduro of sorts, I should say, at Long Beach over 64 laps. This one over 58 tonight. And then all roads lead to Mount Panorama for the next Enduro, but plenty of sprint racing to whet your appetite for that between now and December 12th. We are riding on board here, board of Reina Costello, looking out towards the race leader in Rehan Leonage. The view from Helmet Cam for you. That's a nice little addition to the broadcast as they head across the start-finish line once more. 24 laps to go. One more pit stop, at least. Maybe two, depending upon whether you've been able to save enough fuel between here and when you last stopped. Like 19, 20, 18 even for some guys. So the guys that stretched it to lap 20, they'll be hoping for a 19-lap run here. And that will then give them another 19-lap run to the checkered flag. And the reason I say that, JP, we crunched the numbers at the start of the night. It was a 58.8 litre tank divided by 3.3 on the fuel burn, 17.818181812, right? So, I mean, if you're going to stretch it out to 20 laps on a full green, you got to try and save 2.2 laps of fuel somewhere along the way. 1.2 much more manageable, so I think 19 might be that magic number that the one person in this field is trying to achieve. We know that at least one person's trying to make it on one stop. We don't know if anyone's going to take a leaf out of that book or hedge their bets with that person, but it's certainly going to be interesting to see how the next half hour or so plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is going to be very interesting. And have a look at this. Blake Delaney all over the back of Dylan Rudd now.
Yep, so Dylan Rudd's under some serious heat here at the moment, some serious pressure. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because when we spoke to him at the start of the season and we went through the sequence of the circuit at Barcelona, Catalonia, then Suzuka, He said, I don't like these Grand Prix circuits. These cars understeer too much on them. So he looked at the calendar and he wasn't really a fan of anything he was seeing. It was always going to be a difficult season. However, Interlagos isn't one of the more traditional Grand Prix circuits. This one's got a little bit of character, a little bit of undulation, a little bit of fly. It's not a Tilke designed circuit, and I mean that with the greatest respect. So whether it is a combination of the reasons why he doesn't like the other Grand Prix circuits, or whether it's strategy and whether it's worn tyres, it's interesting to see that Dylan Rudd is this far away from Rehan Leonage and Reina Costello. It's 2.6 to Leonage. It's 1.9 to Costello at this point in time. There they are, top of shot. Going right of screen at the moment. Through they go. They kick it back left.
A little
Rudd.
bit
Under tremendous pressure here at the moment from Blake Delaney, but it's critical. It's critical, JP. Whatever the result here for Dylan Rudd, it's just critical that he finishes and finishes well.
Yeah, 100%. A little bit of understeer there from Dylan, but look, we've seen this before from Dylan, where you almost count him out. He looks like he's down and out, and then he comes back strong in the next pit stop, and he's almost unassailable. So, you know, don't take anything for granted. This could just be strategy play.
Oh, it could be indeed. Who's going to be the next to take the bait, take the plunge, and come into pit lane? Really not the race leaders. They've continued on. Third and fourth do the same thing.
Here we go.
Delaney's all over the back of Rudd. Delaney down the inside. Delaney's going to third. Big move down there on the inside of Dylan Rudd. And Rudd lets him go. Blake Delaney is on the podium for the first time tonight. Beautifully executed overtaking manoeuvre, JP, and it was all in the slipstream and the braking, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Nice, patient, you know. He got the move done nice and clean. And look, to Dylan's credit, he didn't argue it. He said, you've got it, and let's get back to racing.
Through they come again. There's your race leader. There's your championship leader, more to the point. The man that trails him on the racetrack is the man that trails him in the championship. 1 and 2, duking it out at the midway point of the season. How good is this?
Oh!
Don't take anything away.
Have a look at that.
Oh, Leonage with a little bit of a moment. A huge moment for Leonage. Barely hung on to it, too deep into the corner, and now he's trying to cover off Costello. He's going to come and have a crack around the outside. Here they come, down the lane straight, side by side. Commodore Falcon of Mustang, I should say, in the Commodore pits. The Commodore pits.
Smart move.
Rehan Leonage has jumped into the lane, JP.
Yeah, smart move by Leonage. He knew that he was going to become, he knew that he was going to be in trouble going into turn one. And rather than push perhaps a bad position, jump into the pits now, get those fresh tyres off. Now what Reina has to do is he has to cover off Rehan at this stage.
Absolutely. At no matter what price that may bring. By virtue of the fact that the guys that have got to lap 38, if they can stretch it to 39, so go around one more time, there is an outside chance that they can stretch it 19 laps in the third stint of this race, and therefore it's a two-stopper, which then begs the question, why didn't they take fresh rubber first time round? But there'll be that small minority that will make this a three-stopper, and they'll come in and utilise that second spare set of tyres. Oh, it's fascinating at the moment. Don't take your eyes off this, Australia. Plenty to see and do in the next 20 laps or so here at the Interlagos circuit in Brazil. How good's this been? Tuesday night motorsports. It was the championship boys 1 and 2. It was the smallest of mistakes from Rehan Leonage. That was the catalyst for him to come into the pit lane. Here's Chadwick under pressure, or applying the pressure, I should say, to Jared Bailey, who's been in for his second pit stop by the looks of things as well.
Now, this is not where Reina wants to be.
Who's your money with at this point in time, JP? I mean, if you're a betting man, and lap traffic made it as easy as he could for him too. Who would your money be with at this point in time, mate?
Look, I think the move that Sean made was a pretty smart move, going in early and getting on fresh tyres. Rahana's done well to go in now, and he's on fresh tyres, so you know that he's going to be quick coming out. But there's still a lot of racing left to play out. Rayner has been looking very strong all night long. He seems to be working to a plan. And look, you know, to the young guy's credit, he's out there on his own. I don't think he has a spotter tonight.
Copy that. Just quietly too, mates. Do we have any idea with regards to pit transit time? Because we know pit stop times have been somewhere in the vicinity of 24 to 25 seconds thus far. But what about transit time? Because that could be an interesting talking point here as well. If you don't have to go down the pit lane one more time, and that's a distinct possibility for anyone that's made it to lap 39 on 2 stops, they may be able to stretch this third stint out over 19 laps, let's be perfectly honest. What's the pit transit time? How much time are they looking to save whilst also potentially sacrificing a couple of seconds here and there with their... Let's just follow Rayner Costello here at the moment. He's going round again. Rayner Costello is going round again. This is lap 40. We're going to have 18 to go next time by. And I think that might just answer the question that everyone's been wondering, or, you know, debating the answer to at home as to who might be trying to two-stop it. That might just answer it. No confirmation as yet whether it is Rayner or not, but when you think about this, you look at the clock and the leaderboard there on the left-hand side of the screen at the top of the totem pole. That says lap 40. Next time by, 18 laps to go. We've been saying all night, 17.8 to a full tank. These guys have been able to stretch out the first stint to 20 laps by virtue of the safety car. Now we're seeing Rayner Costello on a 20-lap run on the second stint as well. Oh, boy. So that's why I'm going to go back to JP. Do we have any idea what we're dealing with here? If it is Rayner Costello, and I'm not going to confirm or deny that at this point in time, but if it is Rayner, how much time is he set to gain by not transiting the pit lane a third time?
Well, I tell you what, we'll have a look at the next time he comes in the pit. We'll get a read on what his full transit time is. But I can now tell you that Rayner, before the start of the race, he said to me, look, if I can save 0.2 of a litre a lap, I can do this in 2 stops. And here he comes.
Into the line. It's the control line. Now, I've got the stopwatch on. Down the pit lane. And JP, to be fair, if he pulls this off, it is the ultimate masterstroke. And for a 16-year-old to be, you know, doing this, I mean, just watch the kid in years to come. He's going play.
Yeah, absolutely. And to do this on his own, like, okay, you know, you've got to tip your hat to Rahan, Leonage and Laz. Laz is a brilliant statistician, but for Rayner to be able to come up with this on his own, you know, fantastic. You know, brilliant bit of execution. Just have to see if he can pull it off.
Right, there's 41 seconds, including the stop. I'm going to stop the watch once we get out of the lane. Once he's back on the racetrack there. 55, 56, 57. Yeah, let's call it 58 seconds. And the stop, I don't have the number on that just yet because my timing's playing up at my end, mate. But, I mean, if it was about that 25 seconds that we saw earlier, the transit's going to be 33, isn't it? So, quite possibly a masterstroke there from Rayner. But there's 2 things here, right? The time that he's set to gain by doing one less stop than those around him. You've got to add that. You've got to weigh that up against the time that the other guys are going to potentially gain in that third stint when they come in and take on that new set of tyres. And does it balance out? At this stage, I think yes, but we'll wait and see. There's still a long way to go. 17 laps next time by the line. There's how it breaks down on the bottom right-hand side of your screen there, folks. Pit strategy, pit lane. Sean Mcnamara, a very short second stint, which is the reverse. We were waiting for that. There's a drive-through penalty being handed out as well to car 123. 123 for car contact on the 88. 123 is Bruce Tunnock. The 88 is Dean Powell, so Tunnock will be getting a drive-through penalty. But so Mcnamara went on to the reverse strategy. It was either 17, 17, 17, and 7. Just picking numbers roughly to what the fuel gauge was telling me, or 18, 18, 18, and 4. So he's just taken the 7-lap stint at the back end of the race and brought it forward into that second stint, and now he's going to do 2 long runs on fresh tyres, and therefore he's evened out essentially, JP, the tyre wear distribution. Instead of doing 2 long stints on one set of tyres like it appears as though Rayner has, Mcnamara said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to play it differently.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you take into consideration the transit time, Mcnamara is going to be, his transit time is going to be anywhere between, I'd say, 40 to 43 seconds. He's currently 10 seconds, let's call it 11 seconds ahead of Rayner. That's going to put Rayner in the box seat if he can keep things nice and clean for the end of the race.
The Mcnamara leads Leonage by 6.8, Costello 10.5. That was last time by the line. Again, as I say, I've had some problems with the internal timing, so I'm just going off what the iRacing server is telling me at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. Next time by the line will be 15 laps to go, but it's 16 at the moment because obviously Mcnamara is the leader, not Costello, so we're following Costello, who now has 16 to go. Mcnamara, Leonage, Costello, Delaney, Rudd, Dyke, Pereira, Morris, the top 8, Bailey and Chadwick sitting there 9th and 10th. Now, that's interesting too, JP. Let's just focus on a couple of things here. Dylan Pereira, another strong run from him. Really good to see after the way his season started. Ben Morris hasn't found his way into trouble tonight thus far. And I say that with a little bit of tongue-in-cheek because, unfortunately, for Betty, he has a habit of finding trouble. And he's been rather good at it, unfortunately, because there's a guy that has the pace and the consistency and the potential to be a championship podium contender, JP, but it's just indiscrepancies and shortcomings that have prevented that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a bit of bad luck, but they also say that you make your luck, and he's just had a few incidents happen that were probably unforced errors more than anything else, and he's doing really well tonight. But I tell you what, watch out for Blake Delaney. He's adopted exactly the same strategy as Rayner Costello, and he's on a charge at the minute.
Certainly is.
Here we go. Mcnamara's in.
Down into pit lane. Here's some activity. So Mcnamara in. He's bringing in, looks like one of the Calamari Racing Stable boys has followed him in as well. 2 more behind them. So the pit lane's a hub of activity at the moment. Rehan Leonard. For how long? He was only 2.4s clear of Rayner Costello last time by the line. Remains the case here. It remains the case.
Rehan is going to have to do some serious fuel saving to make it to the end of the race.
Absolutely.
I can't see it, but I don't have Laz in my corner calling the shots.
No. Well, there's 2 things there, isn't there, JP? So, 21 laps between the end of the pit stop on lap 37 and the end of the race on lap 58. But it's got to be 22 because he's got to save that lap to get himself back to pit lane under his own steam or cop a 3-place penalty. No good winning the race if you're going to run out of fuel on the cooldown lap.
Yeah, 100%.
It's happened to a couple of drivers already this season, or this year, I should say. We don't want to see that happen to the young bloke who's the championship leader.
No, absolutely not. You want him to win the race, and you want him to make that cool down lap. And for those viewers who are watching us, who may be new to the series, this series states that you must complete a cool down lap. If you don't complete a cool down lap, you get dropped down 3 places.
Correct. It's a harsh penalty sometimes, but everyone's aware of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not like it's being thrust upon them that short.
Absolutely. Now, I've actually messaged Laz, and my exact words were, "How's the boy on fuel?" He hasn't replied. I'd say he's got the abacus out, and he's quickly calculating exactly what Rahan has to do to make it to the end of the race. Having said that,
I'd say you're absolutely right.
we can actually see what Rahan needs to do. His last lap was a 34.5. Rayner's was a 33.7, but Blake Delaney was a 34.1.
Yeah. So, it's going to be interesting to see what that means at the tail end here. I mean, last time by the line, just let this sink in for a moment. Leonage by 1.5 over Costello. So Costello's charging home, and his tyres are fresher, so that makes no surprise. Blake Delaney 3.0. Dylan Rudd 5 seconds back. And Jamie Dyke another 4 seconds back. So all of a sudden, it's turned into a little bit of a fizzer at the back end in terms of the drivers who are 1:13.13 last time by the line for Rehan Leonage. That's how much racing we've done so far, ladies and gentlemen. And we have got just 13 laps to go. I'm
not going to...
So it's turned into a little bit of a fizzer in terms of the top 6 have now... Sorry, JP.
I've got the lowdown on Rahan's fuel status, but I'm not going to actually say anything because, well, look, I think they've still got some strategy to play. And they are going to they're going to fight. Now, looks like we might have an incident here with Dean Power. You need to go and have a look at this.
Copy that. And that's the other thing as well. If we get a safety car, all bets are off, and that could be it. Look at that. There's a car off the circuit. It's Dean Power, as you say. Let's have a look at this. Now, is this going to require a tow, and is it going to require a safety car? Let's have a look. The back end's going to snap on him. Yep, there it is. Whooshka. Bang.
He's stuck in the wall. That's going to trigger a safety car.
That will be a safety car. That will absolutely trigger a safety car. This field is about to be bunched back up, I would think. And we're going to have a sprint to the checkered flag. And it is going back on.
Yep, now.
Because now that Rayner Costello...
Rayner has...
And Rehan Leonage are pretty much going to be on the same strategy. It's going to be a possibility for Rehan to potentially save some fuel here, JP.
100%. They both need to come into the pits now. Oh, no!
Oh, no! Rehan's in. Rayner's continued.
So
Now, that's understood. Now, this is the thing. Safety car boards and flags, that's all confirmed. That's deployed safety cars on circuit. What I wanted to get back to here, for Rehan Leonage, that would have been a perfect opportunity for him to save and get home. And I would have thought. Rayner, we know he's okay. We know that Rayner's fine to get to the end because he came in at the end of lap 40. He only had to get 18 laps out of that tank plus the cooldown lap. And to say that he got 20 out of that second stint on a full green run, he doesn't necessarily have to pit. The only reason that you would have considered maybe pitting Rayner now, JP, would have been that extra fresh set of tyres that are sitting in his pit bay.
Yeah, look, that's true, and it's going to work. It's going to work for them. Now, it's actually going to work for them. Rahan has got the advantage of having the fresh tyres, but he's now in 5th place. He's got to come and he's really got to start to mow down these other guys. I don't think that we're going to see anyone else come into the pits for fresh tyres. It's going to be game on.
No. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So a gamble from Rehan Leonage. We'll see if it pays off. This is awesome. We've got a second safety car of the night right at a critical point because I was just in the process of saying that it had fizzled out in terms of the top 6, JP. They spent the first 20-odd laps all bunched up beautifully. Mcnamara's pits kind of sort of was the catalyst for that separation of the field. But now we were waiting for, the third round of pit stops potentially and the other sort of strategy to play out before we got a clear picture of who would be in the fight. This now puts all the bets back on the table, everything in terms of the equations and scenarios out the window, because a safety car is going to allow, as you see that car well and truly wedged. Have a look at that. That's parked like a skateboarder. Because now the safety car's out on the circuit, it's a game of saving the fuel required to get home, and then working on potentially having to save just a little bit more throughout this final stint. So it helps everybody out. It bunches the field back up. So we're going to have a situation where we're back to square one. We were waiting for the field to, when we have some of those races, JP, where the field separates and then gets back together at the tail, and you get a processional middle session, and then the elbows are out for that third and final stint for the checkered flag in our sprint rounds, because the field has found its way back to itself through strategy and other circumstances. That's exactly what we're waiting for here, but the safety cars have dictated it a bit more for us than we otherwise would have anticipated. So next time by the line is going to be 10 laps to go. I think by virtue of the fact that you've just seen a car go round there to release itself from the pack and unlap itself, I think we might see the safety car go around one more time. The lights aren't off yet to indicate that it's coming into the pit lane. So this might be one more lap for Lee Davis behind the wheel of the Porsche 992. And then all bets are off for what will be a 9-lap sprint to the line, JP. And by G, I wouldn't want to be a betting man right now, because it'd be almost as difficult to predict as the Melbourne Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see cars are unlapping themselves now. And I can tell you that when I did message Laz and ask him about Rahan's fuel, he said, we are a bit short. They weren't going to make it to the end of the race. So, yeah. Look, I think hedging their bets, jumping in for a quick splash and some fresh tyres. They're going to have much fresher tyres. Watch for them start to menace Jamie Dyke and Blake Delaney. But look, Blake and Jamie are going to be hard to pass.
Indeed. Take a breath and hold on, Australia.
Okay, so
It's about to get interesting.
Just had a message from Will Jesberg. Found out that Justin Pennefather's pedals malfunctioned, so he had to withdraw, unfortunately.
Copy that. That's a shame for Pennefather. In fact, when you look at, let's have a look at the leaderboard at the moment. We've got Pennefather's out, Barnes is out, Coleman's out, Nitschke's out. Everyone else still out on the racetrack. So even though Dean Power's 5 laps down, 28th, he'll be classified. He's made it to that 75% threshold. The field's on lap, well, actually, he hasn't quite yet made it, but as long as he completes another 2 laps, he'll make it. 10 laps to go, and 5 is 15. So just trying to work out where we are. That's lap 49 that we're on. So he would be just starting lap 44. So he needs to complete this lap, and then he will be okay. He'll be classified. But that's all good. The field of 28 that's left in this race will be classified as finishers at the end of the night. But how does it finish? We don't know. What about Blake Delaney? What about Jamie Dyke? Throwing the cat amongst the pigeons, and they're no doubt going to make life difficult for Dylan Rudd and for Rehan Leonage. Leonage is 4th. Rudd is 5th in all of this. You wouldn't expect Rudd to be that far down. What can Sean Mcnamara do from 6th? Has all his hard work of the alternate strategy been brought undone by this late race safety car? Disappointment for Dean Power with that. It was Dean Power actually that ended up in the wall, wasn't it? So he's not actually going to be completing another lap. My apologies. So
look at this great restart by Rayner.
Final restart of the night. We've got our fingers crossed anyway. And Rayner Costello has put foot to the floor cleanly and bolted. He's spread eagle the field. Now look at this. Dylan Rudd and Rehan Leonage. Leonage defending as though his life depends on it. The championship leader up against her at the moment. Dylan Rudd on the outside and going into position number 4. Careful move from the number 1. Mars right there as well. Onto the back straight they go. Ken Delaney and Dyke stay with Costello.
Dylan Rudd's
Here
like
comes Leonage again.
Dylan Rudd is like a coiled spring when it comes to these restarts. He always finds that little bit of extra pace.
Absolutely, he does. And it worked for him on that occasion. Leonage is looking like he might finish off the podium, but to his advantage, he's still going to be leading the championship. Oh, Blake Delaney wanted to send it down on the inside. So you got Costello at the moment with no help. You've got the two Fishy Motorsport boys second and third. You've got the 9-5 boys fourth and fifth. Mcnamara has got by Leonage. So that is McNamara is still just behind Leonage there, I should say. So you've got McNamara all over the back of Leonage trying to find a way by. You've got Dylan Rudd applying the pressure to the Fish Motorsports entry at Jamie Dyke. This is well and truly on. Rudd trying to get back onto the podium. Leonage might miss out on the podium, but he'll still be the championship leader provided that he finishes there at this point. He'll extend his buffer over McNamara unless McNamara gets back past. Have a look at Dyke. Have a look at Rudd. Rudd on the outside of Dyke to turn one. Not yet. Not yet. Dyke covers him off. Costello, Delaney, Dyke, Rudd, Leonage, McNamara, Morris, Pereira, Bailey and Hobbs. Lindsay Hobbs from 32nd to 10th. The biggest mover of the night, bar none. Down to turn 4. 8 to go. Jamie Dyke, you're riding on board with him. Could he pull another one out of the clouds? Oh no. Rainer Costello's under investigation for a potential breach to the safety car restart rule. Could this night deliver any more drama? And that would cruel him, JP, if he gets pinged there under a potential breach of safety car restart rules. That would cruel him because he'd catapult down the order and it'd be a tremendous leg up for Rehan Leonage as far as this championship is concerned, given that Rainer is his closest opponent at this point in time. Don't worry too much about Sean McNamara because it's only going to be 2 points either way, the difference there. The big concern is Rainer Costello as far as Rehan Leonage is concerned.
Yeah, look, this is going to be very interesting. I'm just reading the restart rules here. It said the acceleration zone for race start will be at the exit of turn 13. So the race leader can choose to accelerate and recommence to start the race at any point from there up until the control line. So did Rainer restart before or after turn 13?
That's actually a fair point because turn 12 is that left-hander. And then it's the kink left at 13, the kink right at 14, and then across the line you go. Ooh, I'd hate to be race control right now trying to make that decision. There's no doubt about that. 7 to go here. And look at Rainer Costello under pressure from Blake Delaney. What an awesome drive this has been from Blake Delaney. He's slowly but surely in the last few weeks made his way up through the field to the point where last week he was on the podium. It was 1 and 3 for the Fishy Motorsport squad. Rehan Leonage was left to consolidate second. Tonight, he may not even make it onto the podium. Dylan Rudd is 4th. Rehan Leonage is 5th. Sean McNamara still sitting there in 6th. There they are, top 6 separated by just 3 seconds last time over the strike. Ben Morris giving McNamara a bit of a hurry up at the moment. In fact, McNamara just getting through on Leonage at the back of shot there. Leonage back to 6th as McNamara gets the 9.5 Sim Sports entry into 5th place. The top 5 now has Rainer Costello, 2 Fishy Motorsport entries, 2 9.5 Sim Sport entries. This is how he got it done. On the outside for the right-hander, put himself on the inside for the left-hander. Not the first time we've seen that done tonight, just at a different point of the circuit. That was nicely done. So we'll find out more about Rainer Costello, no doubt, very shortly from race control. We're investigating that, no doubt, intently. Whoa, I tell you what, Dylan Pereira was on the ragged edge coming out of turn 3 there. He had it tank slapper sort of locked up across the ripple strip behind Benny Morris.
Tell you what, Blake
There's
Delaney.
a logjam of cars behind them, let me tell you. And Blake Delaney, you were about to say, JP,
Mate.
all over the back of Rayner here, keen to have a crack.
Mate, he's smelling the blood in the water.
Ooh. And he knows that if Rayner gets pinged for that restart that Race Control's investigating at the moment, he's going to be leading this field. That is going to be a huge moment in his career. Rudd has got by Dyke. Rudd is third. Dyke fourth. Mcnamara. Then Leonage, Morris and Pereira. As they make their way around once more. 5 to go this time by the line. And Race Control, and no doubt, sweating on when they make this decision. Oh, no. There it is, right there and now. A breach of safety car restart rules, and Rayner Costello is copping a drive-through penalty. Matt is going to take him out of the equation here. This is just gut-wrenching for the youngster. You talk about pivotal moments and defining moments in championship seasons. This is one of them right here and now, because no doubt as we have a look at Dylan Rudd down on the inside, Dylan Rudd will be the effective race leader down on the inside of Blake Delaney. The number one looks set to benefit it big time from the 44's removal from this battle. That is gut-wrenching for Rayner Costello, but as I said, JP, you talk about defining moments in championships. This is definitely one of them as far as his aspirations of staying with Rehan Leonage and even Sean McNamara are concerned, because I don't know how far he's going to plummet down the order here when he transits pit lane. But Rayner Costello is set to probably lose second in the championship to the 951 right now. Oh, Dylan Rudd's wide. I'll come back to you, JP. Rudd's wide, and Delaney's gone back through on the inside. Delaney's back to second. What drama here at the Interlagos circuit in Brazil. 4 laps to go. Rayner Costello out of business. He's going to come to pit lane and no doubt be filthy with the restart call from Race Control. In he comes. Penalty. No, he's going to continue on. He's going to continue on. And I'm not sure what that was all about coming across the start-finish line there, JP.
I think he might have thought about it and then changed his mind. That sort of put him out. So what he's trying to do, he's trying to get as much of a gap as he can on the rest of the field before he comes in and serves that penalty.
Whoa.
I don't know what's going on there.
Through they come again. Blake Delaney, Dylan Rudd, Jamie Dyker battling it out feverishly for second position. There's speculation in our comments section that it might have been a redress from Dylan Rudd, and we're not too sure why. But Blake Delaney is fending him off at the moment. And Jamie Dyke's in behind. Well, actually, hang on. Jamie Dyke is second. Jamie Dyke is second. Now Dylan Rudd goes to third. Blake Delaney's been hung out to dry. Mcnamara's there on his outside. He wants a piece of it as well. It's all going terribly wrong for Blake Delaney, and Jamie Dyke's leading for the second week on the trot. He's leading because he's the effective race leader here, folks. It's a bit like Bathurst 5 years ago when Jamie Whincup led across the line but lost the race. He's out of the equation. Let's focus on second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth. It's going to be the top 5. We just don't know the order yet. Devastation for Rayner Costello, who was bolted clear to try and put some distance between himself and the pack. Now he's coming to pit lane. Oh, and you can tell he's filthy too. And if he loses the championship by 10, 15 points, he'll put it right down to that defining moment right there. 56 of 58, 3 to go. Jamie Dyke is the race leader for the second week in a row. Powered him up at Coda. Now is under tremendous pressure. He's under the pump from Dylan Rudd, Blake Delaney, Sean McNamara, and also I think it's Ben Morris now up in 5th place. Rehan Leonage has been displaced. And not just by Ben Morris, but also Dylan Pereira. So whilst we've been following all the drama for Rayner Costello, there's a lot happening around him and behind and now in front of him. We'll find out where Costello filters out in just a moment. But now, oh no, the 957. That's Simon Chadwick. He's going to get a drive-through penalty for car contact on lap 51. That was, of course, on Lindsay Hobbs, the number 12. Hobbs has found himself back down in 16th position. He was as high as 10th. We didn't see it. We don't know what's going on. But now look at this. Jamie Dyke holding off the defending champion. And no doubt with his work cut out for him here in the final couple of laps. He's wide out of 12. Rudd's going to try and get down the inside, but Dyke was quick to move across and cover it off. Have a look at this. And don't rule out Delaney, Mcnamara or Morris yet. Too wide down the main straight. On the run to one. Braking zone critical. Who's got the bigger coverage when they get down here? Around the outside. Rudd to the lead. Dyke moves back in behind. Mcnamara around the outside. He's got Ben Morris down. He's inside. Look at Benny Morris on a charge here. You can't rule him out of the podium just yet. A lap and a half to go at the Interlagos circuit in Brazil, and this could go anyway. The late race safety car has thrown it all to the proverbial. What we thought would be a win for Reina Costello or Rian Leonage, it's now looking like Dylan Rudd or Jamie Dyke's night. But it could still be Blake Delaney. Can Dyke latch back onto the back of Rudd, or is Rudd going to have enough to just give himself that little bit of comfort, that little bit of a buffer to fend off these guys and the onslaught that he's under at the moment? Because, by gee, the elbows have been out over these last 9 laps, but it's been relatively clean. They'll come back to the line. They'll have a lap to go. And make sure you stick with us, folks, because we've got one hell of a post-race show coming your way. A lot to try and dissect in all of this, and not much time to do it. Given the broadcast window, we normally wrap up around 10:30. It might be a little bit later tonight, but well worth the price of admission to stick around. Jamie Dyke's thrown it away. He was in the dog coming out of 13. That's going to allow Blake Delaney to crack down the inside, and Delaney's back to second. That might just be enough for Dylan Rudd. Sean Mcnamara had a little body peep as well. Tucks back in. That's allowing Leonage and Pereira to get back onto the tail here, but I don't think they're going to do enough to displace Benny Morris. That's going to be a top 5 and a long overdue, well-deserved result for Benny Morris if he can pull it off. Have a look at this down the back, straight for the line. Dyke can't find a way by Pereira, but he's doing a great job of keeping Mcnamara at bay. So you got a double layer of fish in between the 9.5 Sim Sports sandwich at the moment. First and fourth are the 9.5 entries, and of course the Fishy Boys are second and third. And Benny Morris is that tartare just sitting on the side, I might add. Have a look at this. What a final few laps we've had here. Rian Leonage trying to go with them. And Dylan Pereira as well. It's Pereira still in front. Leonage has slipped to 7th in all of that contact. Benny Morris on Sean Mcnamara. But nothing came of it. It just denies Mcnamara an opportunity of having a crack at Jamie Dyke. I think this is the finishing order. This is how they're going to come to the line, ladies and gentlemen. You wouldn't have seen this coming 15 minutes ago. Dylan Rudd out of the last corner, onto the main straight. And another win in an RSRA Enduro. Wrapped it up in Chicago in the 250 last season. Gets the job done at Interlagos this season. Rudd wins a classic on a Tuesday night. An instant classic at that. The Interlagos 250, round 6 of the Goodyear Autocare Warana SuperSeries. The number 1 is back in town. Been a rough couple of weeks for the number 1, but by gee, what a way to fight back. What a way to just send a message to the rest of the competition tonight. Blake Delaney, that is just awesome. Jamie Dyke 3rd. Sean Mcnamara home in 4th. That'll be enough for 2nd in the championship. Benny Morris was 5th. Rian Leonage got by Dylan Pereira in the run to the line. Leonage goes 6th. Pereira 7th. Jared Bailey, Reina Costello got back to 9th in all of that. So the difference was 8 points, I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying, between Mcnamara and Costello. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It'll be Mcnamara by 2, depending upon point bonuses and the like when we get out of here. But he had to work bloody hard for that one to Dylan Rudd. He's converted pole into a win. Therefore, the round win is his as well, pending clean race bonuses, and we'll find out more on that a little bit later on. But JP saved me. That was just intense from the outset of that restart. You wouldn't have expected the drama for Reina Costello. He may have got his marker wrong. He may have hit the gas in turn 12 instead of turn 13. But then it just set everything off the chain. But what could have been Blake Delaney's night, could have been Jamie Dyke going back-to-back, ends up being the number one.
Yeah, absolutely. What a finish. And look, hats off to Race Control too for catching that. He did go early. He went on turn 12. The safety car before that, he left at turn 14. So rules are rules. They were all briefed, and just a little mistake, and that's cost him what would have been an easy win for him.
Absolutely, irrespective of the 2-stop, 3-stop conversations and the like. Let's celebrate with Dylan Rudd. Looks like one he's going to enjoy too, by the way. In a few weeks between drinks for Dylan Rudd. Brilliant result for Dylan Rudd. Let's have a look at the full results for you here, ladies and gentlemen. Tuesday Night Motorsport on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting, and we love going racing at the Interlagos circuit in Brazil. That just showcased exactly why. 1.4 the margin in the end. Dylan Rudd to Blake Delaney. Jamie Dyke was third. Sean Mcnamara, Ben Morris, Rehan Leonage, and Dylan Pereira. I want to actually have a look at the final lap there and just see if Leonage got Pereira on merit, or whether there was a little bit of multi-21 going on. Thinking about Leonage's championship, of course. Bailey was 8th. Good run from him. Costello will be gutted with 9th. And Peter Crossingham home in 10th position. I'm sure Race Control, if there's anything untoward that they've got to mention to us, they'll come up and mention that. But at this point in time, it is as it shows on the screen here. Rick Sibra and Dean Alessi were 11th and 12th. Sam Noble and Hayden Norris. Then Dean Reddit made up the top 15. Good run for Dino tonight. He'll be in the booth tomorrow night for a sprint round around this circuit in the Super 2E series for DSL Welding. Robert Crisdale, 16th. Simon Chadwick, Matthew Scholes, Craig Schultz, and David Nash in for 20th. Can we just go back to the top 10 there, JP, and then go to 21st? Top 10 were 7 and 3. So Holden had the forwards well and truly covered tonight, irrespective of Rainer's penalties. So there you go. 7 Holden's, 3 forwards. It's been a bit more even in recent weeks, but Holden well and truly had forwards measured tonight. 21st place, let's go back to where we were. It was Bruce Tunnock, then Lindsay Hobbs and David Kirby. Then Robbie Bradbury was the last time on the lead lap. A lap down, Stephen Bull, Scott Barchin. 4 laps down, Brian Good. Dean Powell won't get classified at 43 laps. How unlucky. He got wedged in the wall there. Crossed up. It triggered that last caution that we were talking about. Dean Powell, the first of the retirements. Justin Pennifather, Chris Barnes. And then over the page, we can tell you that it was also a disappointing night at the office for David Coleman and Brenton Nitschke. Lee Davis got a few more laps than he was bargaining on tonight as well. 1 hour 35 and 40 the race time there. Really good night out, no doubt about that. If you've stuck around from first until last and stayed out with us this late into the evening, you're well and truly pleased with the time you've invested in watching the broadcast, because that was well worth the price of admission in every sense of the word. We won't keep these guys terribly long tonight. We'll do our best to rip through this fairly quickly, because at the end of the day, we've already been on air for 2 hours. We normally start these Enduros half an hour earlier, folks, but unfortunately, because the continent is split into 2 countries and 5 different time zones, that made it a little bit challenging tonight. And when you got New Zealanders in, I think David Nash is part of our New Zealand contingent, and JP can correct me if I'm wrong on that. You've got 6 different time zones to take into consideration, because it's just gone 16 past 12 over there on a Wednesday morning, and it's just gone 16 past 7 over on the West Coast, in the smaller of the two countries of the continent, Western Australia. So it was originally going to be an 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time start, but because of the time zone factors, it was kept at 8:30 to try and keep everybody on side. So therefore, as a result of that, we don't want to keep these guys terribly long. And guys, if any of you do need to nick off early, just let me know now, because then that way we'll make it as quick as painless as possible for you as we possibly can. But let's bring them in at this point in time. Blake Delaney, Jamie Dyke, Dylan Rudd. I mean, fair dinkum, Dylan. You had to work bloody hard for that one, mate. That'll go down as one of your better wins, I think, not just because of the way in which it came about, but the way in which you had to work for it as well. 10, 15 laps to go, it was looking like you were a comfortable third to the likes of Rayder Costello and Rehan Leonage. The safety car threw the cat amongst the pigeons. Rehan pitted because he admitted he was short on fuel, even not sure if he could save enough under the caution and then get home. So that ruled him out. Then Rayner cops the penalty. And then you had to fight off both the Fishy Motorsport boys that finished beneath you here in Blake Delaney and Jamie Dyke. But the champ is back in town.
Yeah, thanks, Zach. It was a good battle at the end there, so good fun. So yeah, made it. Late safety car definitely brought me back into the race, as I would have had to save for the whole last stint if there was no safety car. So yeah, definitely made it for a good race at the end.
Well, let's talk about that, because it was interesting to see how it worked out tonight. We got wind pretty early in the evening, as we said in the call, that Rayner Costello was of the belief that he could do it on 2 stops. And we revealed that when he pitted on lap 40, because that was right on the precipice of making it and not making it on 2 stops. How were you prepared to play the night out? Were you looking at 3 stops or 2?
I was going for 2 stops. I think Rayner and Blake, I'm not sure how they got an extra lap out of the tank in the second stint there, so they were miles up the road. So yeah, I'm not sure how they did that, but yeah, we're 2 stopping.
We'll pick Blake Delaney's brain on that one in just a few moments. Don't worry about that. But in saying all of that, Dylan, it was interesting because we weren't sure what that would mean for tyre usage, because the way we crunched the numbers, 58.8 litres divided by 3.3 gave us 17.8. So we knew that 18 would be easy, but 19 would be a little bit of a save and 20 would be a stretch. In the end, Rayner made 20 look easy with that second stint there, and the safety car meant everyone made 20 look easy in the first stint. What did it mean for tyres, though, mate? Planning a 2-stop race from the outset, was it fresh tyres at both stops?
We actually didn't take tyres at the first stop. Only took tyres at the second stop, and then we didn't realise. Well, once we came out, we kind of knew that. I think the guys around us took tyres in the first stop, and obviously when the safety car came out, I took tyres under safety car, only losing 2 spots. So.
All right. The obvious question: how nice is it to be back on top? I mean, we didn't see you for Long Beach. That's going to make the championship equation really difficult. But we've already detailed the ways in which you can still find your way to victory lane on December 12. The double points race on the mountain does help that. And then last week wasn't exactly the easiest night at the office either. Must be nice to A, be back on the podium, and B, get this season back on track.
Yeah, it's definitely a good result after a silly little mistake last round. So yeah, definitely feels good.
In saying all that too, mate, it was somewhat surprising, because I did mention during the call that Grand Prix circuits aren't exactly to your liking. You looked at the calendar at the start of the year, and you weren't sort of impressed with what you saw, because the Grand Prix circuits don't suit your style of driving and don't necessarily suit these cars. But I guess when everyone's dealing with the same circumstances and you're all in the same boat, it then comes back to how best to adapt to the situation at hand. And obviously, strategy and a couple of other things at the end of the race there. And Rainer's joining us for a chat in just a moment on that note. It kind of worked into your favour. But did you like the circuit?
It's not my favorite, but it's one of the better tracks on the season's calendar.
I was going to say that's one thing I really love, JP, and I know you'll appreciate this. Drivers who come in here and say it's not exactly my favourite circuit, but then you look at the results and it was pole and the race win and the clean sweep for Dylan Rudd. So no, a very impressive performance from him tonight. This will. I've just got a message from our executive producer and director here, JP. This will somewhat make up for the disappointment of what happened in that final race restart. Rainer Costello is the only driver with a clean race, 0 incidents tonight, so therefore the only driver to get a 5-point bonus. Despite the drive-through penalty, he gets the 5-point bonus, so that will help him out in the points fight. That'll put him back ahead of Sean Mcnamara, who would have otherwise been ahead of him by 2 points after coming into the round down by 8 in all of that. So, Rainer, let me bring you in at this point in time, and I'll come back to Dylan Rudd in just a moment. Rainer, extraordinary effort from you. Unfortunately, just a little bit too eager to get going there on the final restart, and race controller ping you for it, mate. Obviously, no doubt disappointed with that. But does the 5-point bonus help, calm the tension?
Oh, not really, but I read the driver's briefing. I thought that 12 was 13, like pink. So I've gone too early. I had a chat to race control, and fair enough, I got the penalty, but after 55 laps, it was pretty frustrating.
Yeah, exactly right, mate. I mean, although that being said, let's just talk about your night at the office, because I've already mentioned it with the boys. We mentioned it in the call. You were trying to do this on 2 stops, despite the fact that we had planned and scripted it as a 3-stop race with the race notes and the fuel restrictions and the tyre allocations and the like. So let me ask you this: how early into preparation for the event did you cotton onto it being a 2-stopper? And B, was that without the assistance of safety cars? And C, what did that mean for your tyre strategy? Did you take tyres at both stops or just one?
Well, I always just do practice throughout the week and then sort of work out my strategy on the night, sort of about half an hour before the race. Probably should start planning it a bit earlier, but that's when it sort of works. But I sort of had to play around and had a look at the race. I thought it was going to be a generic 3-stop race, but then I saw that we would be using probably putting around 15 litres in for one of the pit stops, or a little bit less. So I thought over the course of 58 laps, you can definitely save that. So before the race, I knew the fuel number I had to sort of hit to make sure that I reached that every time. So I was sort of already went into fuel conserving mode on the first lap, and then the safety car got called. So it was pretty much just conserving that whole time, and then I could. The first stint was pretty easy because I could sort of control it from the front, and I knew Dylan was in the same boat because I could see him backing off early into the corners. So that was good. We were sort of both on the same strategy, same as Blake. He was on the same strategy as well. And then the second stint, I had to make sure that I kept in the slipstream to Rehan so that I could keep fuel saving, which that helped a lot. And then that pretty much meant that we could come in on lap 40, and it was only an 18-lap stint to the end, so we could just go full throttle all the way to the end. And I took tyres on both stops.
Tyres on both stops. Yeah, that's exactly what Dylan Rudd was speculating there a minute ago, because he didn't take tyres in the first stop. So let me ask you this, Dylan. How was the tyre wear when you finally took on a new set?
The tyres at the end of the second stint were definitely pretty average, because when I came out of my first stop, I was trying to stay with Rehan and Rainer, and I was struggling a lot. So I kind of knew from there that they'd taken tyres, and then just continued on fuel saving. But my wear wasn't too bad, but at the end of the second stint, I'll definitely continue.
That second safety car really, I was just in the process of making comment about how things had started to fizzle out because you guys had lost touch with one another. For that first 20 laps, it was bumper to bumper, the top 6. It was neck and neck. It was brilliant. And then for, a little bit of that second stint as well, then you guys started to somewhat separate. We were waiting for the moment in which, and it always happens, you'll get brought back to one another via strategy or whatever. Ended up being the safety car that brought you all back together. But how are you feeling at that particular moment? Because you were not the leader at that point in time, but it gave you a tremendous opportunity to try and at least take it to the boys around you.
Yeah, when the safety car came out, just big thanks to James Scott. He's made the call of coming in and noticing that we'd only lose 2 spots. So, yeah, we jumped into the pits on the safety car and, yeah.
And on that subject about losing positions, Rainer, what an incredible stroke of luck for you, mate, because, okay, sure, the win's been taken away from you, but you get the 5-point bonus, and that's a small little, consolation prize. It won't mend the bridge, but still, it's 5 points that no one else has picked up tonight. There was no other clean races. So you can hold your head high on that one. But to only lose 8 positions there when the field was as bunched up as they were, that's a tremendous stroke of luck for you in terms of the championship, thinking bigger picture here.
Yeah, obviously, it's pretty disappointing for the result, but the 5-point bonus definitely means that I'm sort of still in the championship, so it's not all over yet. So we're still in the championship hunt, but yeah, definitely, I think the battling with Dylan and Jamie and Blake definitely helped me get a little bit of a gap because the tyres weren't really coming up to pressure in that first sort of phase after the safety car had come in. So but yeah, it was lucky that I came out in around 10th position after the drive-through. But yeah, it was at the time I was saying some questionable things behind the mic.
Good thing you weren't in the commentary box, is all I'll say on
definitely.
on that one as well. Hey, just quietly, let's bring in the 2 Fishy Motorsport boys at this point in time. Blake Delaney's here, Jamie Dyke is here as well. Dykey, I want to start with you. It was third in the end. It could well have been first. You had the lead there when Rainer come in to serve his penalty. But it speaks volumes of the competition and the intensity of the race that was. One small mistake from you, the pack was able to gang up on you. But 2 podiums in as many weeks. Things are looking good as far as fighting back in this championship is concerned for you.
Yeah, certainly didn't think I was going to be here. I was struggling a little bit. I'd done a few officials during the week and felt like I had good pace, but I couldn't manage the tyres. And then yeah, I hadn't accounted for Dylan not taking tyres in the first stint, and Blake and Rainer saving just as much as they did, and yeah, they definitely made us work for it.
Indeed, they did, and I think Dylan can comment on that as well, because I mean, these guys, 11 and 16, I mean, they are just making you guys work incredibly hard for your success that you're well and truly earning this season. But the technical side of things and the analytical side of things and the strategic side of things, they're going with you guys punch for punch, aren't they?
Yeah. Oh, was that to me? Sorry.
No, I'll get you and Dylan to comment on that. Jamie, since you've chimed in there, you first.
Oh, what? That was the plan. I saw Dylan's strategy when he pit, how much he had saved, and I tried to mirror him all race. I think I did pretty well. I was pretty much 2.5, 3 seconds behind him all race. I just yeah, I took tyres in the first stop where Dylan saved them.
Yep, exactly. Dylan, what about you and your thoughts with regards to, I mean, these young blokes just making you guys work incredibly hard for each and every position on the racetrack. I mean, the form, the emergence, the way in which we watch on in awe of these blokes, both Rainer and Rehan. It's something to behold, isn't it?
Yeah, they're definitely quick on the racetrack and definitely bring some different strategies to the table, especially Rehan with his he likes to short fuel the car and take a different strategy from the normal. So yeah, it definitely keeps everyone on their toes, makes for good race.
Speaking of short fueling on strategy and taking a different approach, that was Sean Mcnamara's role tonight because not long after that first round of pit stops, the safety car, he was back in the lane, and it looked as though we weighed it up, as Rainer was saying there earlier, with 3 long stints and a short stint at the end. It looked as though Sean was happy to take that short stint there in the middle of that, in the latter stages of the opening half of the race. Would it be fair to say that may have backfired because of the way in which the safety car fell there right at the end, or because it's hard to know, isn't it? It's a game of ifs, buts, and maybes. That strategy could have well worked. 3 stops, as opposed to the 2 that a lot of you were trying for, had we not had that late race safety car.
He did say that the late safety car did kill his race a little bit.
And I thought the same thing here on commentary, I must admit. But awesome pace from Sean. We knew it was going to be a tight fight tonight, based on the way in which you guys were separated by 2 teaspoons of insert words here on the qualifying leaderboard. I mean, that was just incredible stuff. In fact, for the sake of anyone that's just tuning in, for a reminder here, it was 0.018 between Dylan and Rainer for pole position, and then it was only another 1/10 of a second back to Rehan Leonage. So it was 0.11 separating first and third, and then Mcnamara another 1/10 in behind that. Top 20 separated by 1.046 seconds. Just incredible stuff, and that set the recipe for what we saw throughout that 58 laps tonight. Jamie, how'd you play it strategy-wise, mate? I mean, you were in that lead pack for the opening stint. Blake Delaney was there going stroke for stroke with you. It was intense in the opening stages, that top 6, no give, no take. And then all of a sudden, when you find... When you get through the 2 rounds of pit stops, you get that late race safety car, you're in a position to win the thing. How'd you go about it strategy-wise to get to that point, mate?
Both Blake and myself took the generic fuel save strategy. I had a contact with Pereira lap 1, and car didn't feel that great after that, so I had to nurse it a little bit. But yeah, we just tried to fuel save, and realistically, if I thought there was going to be a safety car, I probably would have saved tyres. But being a GP track and so open, I didn't really expect one to come out, to be honest.
And totally different race to Long Beach a couple of weeks ago, Rainer, in the sense that we saw 64 laps there where Rehan and also Dylan and Sean, Brian Borg, I should say, and Sean, it was the week that Dylan missed. We saw those guys just go punch for punch, but it was a follow the leader sort of race. We knew tonight was going to be polar opposite of that.
Yeah, definitely. Tonight was this track definitely lends itself to overtaking with the all the sweeping corners that come back on themselves, the chicanes, the long front straight. But yeah, at the start, everyone I think was sort of focusing on fuel saving, except for a few. So everyone was sort of pretty much staying where they were, and then the strategy sort of started to separate everyone. Whereas at Long Beach, there wasn't really anything you could do to get an advantage, and if you messed up quali like I did, then your race was pretty much a bit stuck from there.
Indeed. Now, let's continue on here. Where are we? 25 to 11. I'll try and get you guys out of here before 11 o'clock, but apologies if I don't. Let's get Blake Delaney in here at this point in time. A lot to dissect after an hour and 35 of racing, ladies and gentlemen. As I said earlier, 27 cars classified tonight out of the 32 that started. There was a bit of argy-bargy off the start, and that big incident for Dean Power towards the end there. And pretty clean apart from that. A few penalties handed out by race control here and there. We've talked about the most notable one, that for Rainer Costello. But Blake Delaney for the second week in a row on the podium, and slowly but surely making your way towards the top step, mate. I think it was third last week, second this week. Yeah, slowly but surely getting there.
Yeah, pretty pumped with that, actually. It was a really, really good race. But look, before we get to that, I just want to say one thing, because there was a hell of a lot of respect shown out there by a number of drivers, but one in particular. I think it was lap 54, where I had a bit of trouble coming through turn 2 and then into turn 3. And I started sliding to the outside of the track, and Dylan had a fair bit of overlap on me. And look, any lesser driver out there, certainly not in this league, but there's a lot out there, would have left their nose there and just turned me right into the wall. So a hell of a lot of respect there for Dylan for not doing that, and yeah, an amazing job. So people need to go and have a look at that, and certainly drive the way that he did, and he certainly did it.
Actually, you've just reminded me of something that I needed to mention with Dylan, actually, because we did see what appeared to be a redress late there in the race between you and Blake. Is that in reference to the incident that Blake was just talking about, mate? Just talk us through that, please.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
No, it was. I can't remember if it was a lap before or a couple laps before.
Oh, okay, copy that. Because yeah, we just saw that you'd moved to the outside, and I just naturally assumed that you pinched a brake or something and ended up wide. But then we got a comment on socials suggesting that it might have been a redress. So we weren't entirely sure what for, because for the most part, what we saw, as Blake just alluded to, everything looked exceptionally clean. But Blake, let's talk about your race, mate, because at the end of the night, you started 7th, you moved your way up through the field, didn't waste any time in doing that. Towards the end there, you're up against your teammate, you're up against Dylan Rudd, and you've got Sean Mcnamara in there for good measure, wanting to throw his hat into the mix. Betty Morris was on his tail, so you were right in the thick of it. You had a chance to win the thing, but in the end, it was just a little bit of a bridge too far, with Dylan just applying that extra bit of trade there at the very end.
Yeah, we had a good start. We got around the outside, picked up a couple of cars into turn 1, which was quite fortunate. I don't know whether it was missing braking marker or just going a little bit long into the corner, but look, the race was pretty good. We saved shitloads of fuel. Excuse the language, apologies, but saved a lot of fuel. Probably had, sorry, JP, had plenty of fuel at the end too. Probably had another 2 or 3 laps after the race, but was able to save plenty of fuel. The guys around did a tremendous job, and at the end there, when I saw Dylan hit the pits, probably with about 4 or 5 to go when that safety car came out, when you were on for a bit of a challenge, you wouldn't, unless you were absolutely dry as a bone looking for fuel, you wouldn't go in then. But obviously he took tyres, and Jamie wasn't quite having kittens, but he was getting very close to having kittens, seeing Dylan come up large in the mirror. And so I knew he was coming, and it wasn't going to make it too hard for him. Just had way too much pace and read the situation really, really well.
Indeed. And from your personal standpoint, must be nice to get one up on the teammate after he got a win last week.
Not just one. I think Jamie 500, me 1. So,
but in saying that, I think I'm right in saying that there was a small moment for Jamie in those closing stages that you were able to capitalise on. Am I right?
Yeah. I think he took his eyes off the road, to be honest. Went wide on the straight, and on a straight bit of road, put it on the grass.
That's it.
But look, I need to right it wrong from last week as well. He doesn't drive with a G29. It's actually a G27. So apologies for that last week.
Oh, so it's older, is what you're saying?
Yeah, it is.
Yes. Well, that makes it even more impressive then, I guess. Hey, Jamie, just explain to us what was going through your mind at the moment when you were putting 2 wheels in the dirt there on lap 56 or 57.
I was making a bar change.
And by bar change, he's not talking drinks, ladies and gentlemen. We should just clearly, notify you of that at this particular point in time. It's a setting within the steering wheel that's within the car that you can adjust on the steering wheel. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have it on the steering wheel. I've got it on the shifter. But yeah, I probably should have done it 2 seconds prior, 2 seconds after, not at the apex. But yeah, small lapse of judgment. Yeah, I lost out to a teammate. I'm not. Yeah, that's fine with me.
You know what they say, timing is everything. So Anyway, not to be in that particular case for you, but two podiums in as many weeks for you and Blake. Things are looking good for the Fishy stable as we edge closer towards the big dance on December 12th.
Yeah, we're coming together. We're getting some more consistency, some pace. Strategy's come a long way. Yeah, should be on in the last couple of rounds.
On that note, JP, I'll get you to come back in at this particular point in time because we were mentioning last week about getting things sorted ready for the big dance on December 12, and I believe that the organisers are in the process of locking entries down and closing entries, and that's it. If you're not in too late, bad luck. How are we looking for the big dance on December 12 to wrap up what will end up being a 40-week season of competition?
Well, funny you should mention 40 because it looks like we're going to be 40 for 40. At the minute, we've closed with entries with 40 entries for the Bathurst 1000. So we're going to be seeing
in there.
We're going to be seeing quite a few cars now. Obviously, we always get one or two that can't make it for whatever reason, but we're going to have a full grid for our 161 lap 1,000 kilometre Bathurst final. And I think it's going to be absolutely phenomenal this year.
Not going to lie, how important is that going to make qualifying on December 7? I mean, Bathurst is one of those races where you don't have to be starting from pole position, but I wouldn't want to be boxed in 29th or 30th in a 40-car field heading up the mountain on lap 1. That is for sure. On the subject of that, Rainer Costello, I know you're prepping to team up with young Lachlan Murphy again. I caught up with him last week at QR. He's looking forward to it as well. You guys must be chomping at the bit, knowing full well that even though you worked hard for your success last year, it looks like you're going to have to work even harder this year.
Oops, sorry, I was just trying to get a gecko that's crawling around underneath my sim.
No.
Yeah, it's going to be competitive. It's going to be really competitive this time at Bathurst. Yeah, it was definitely still a challenge last year, but we had things our own way for most of the race. So I definitely don't think it'll be that way this year. It's definitely going to be a long race of strategy, and yeah, there's a lot of fast guys here, and some guys that are really good on strategy, especially the Leonages. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a big one.
Yeah, just make sure you know exactly where your restart point is, Rainer.
Oh, I will.
Oh.
I know that's really cold, but that's just me,
Blow.
And apologies to
while he's down.
Yeah, gouge. And apologies to everybody in the series because from here on in, they'll be hearing me every week battle on about making sure to keep a cool head for the 1,000 kilometre race. 161 laps. You can't win it in the first turn, but you can certainly lose it in there.
At this point in time, I just might let everybody know that we will be with you at 8:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time on the 7th of December for the qualifying session. We will double that as our preview for the 1,000. Because there'll be a lot of things that we can go through whilst the full field is on the circuit. So we'll obviously commentate qualifying, but we'll use post-qualifying to talk to the provisional pole sitter and, of course, preview what you'll see on the Sunday. On the Saturday, a 90-minute or thereabouts broadcast to bring you the top 10 shootout. I know early 2000s they had a top 15, but no, it's going to be the traditional top 10 with the 40-car field. We will again have a chat to the pole sitters and the like after
That's food
that.
for thought. 15.
I'm just hearing in my earpiece that top 15 actually sounds good. But I shouldn't have made the suggestion. I just made more work for myself. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that we will use all of that time to not only bring you the on-track action, but also preview what you'll see on Sunday, and that'll include strategies, the amount of tires, the fuel tanks and the fuel runs, and whether fuel saving is going to benefit anybody, the probability of safety cars, which in a 40-car field is probably more than what it was with the 26 or 27 cars we had last year. Matt Davis will be here. Dean Reddit will be in and out as he drives and commentates on the day. We'll see who else is going to chime in on December 12th. But it is, and then on the morning, we will go through the lot. The championships, the points for both series and Triple Crowns, because remember, we'll have the Super 2 boys in here on that day as well, racing as part of it. So we're going to have 4 lots of championships to run through off the top of the broadcast. We'll have to do a hot lap. It's Mount Panorama. We'll have to. We'll go through all the track info, all the race regulations that are of talking points, and then, of course, the grid. That'll take us up to 10 o'clock Australian Eastern Daylight Time. That'll be the starting point, and then away through the 161 laps commercial free, post-race coverage after that. Then, of course, running you through all the 4 championship results and talking to the Bathurst winners, the Bathurst podium, the champion. It is going to be an enormous day. Make sure you're here Sunday, December 12th. Cannot wait. Now, my director tells me that he needs to make a pit stop of his own very shortly, so he can go and do that if he likes, because we can keep filling here for a couple of minutes whilst we get these guys to thank their sponsors and look ahead to next week. And JP, just quickly, I know you're keen to shoot through, but is there anything that I've forgotten to mention to these guys with regards to this race tonight? Is there any are there any talking points that you'd like to raise with them while they're here?
No, look. Apart from the lap 1 fracas, which I'll definitely be making a mention of tomorrow morning in my post-race debrief on our group page. Look, these guys really raced exceptionally well tonight. They're a credit to themselves. They're a credit to their teams. And look, week by week the racing is getting better, and I keep thinking that we've done as well as we possibly can, and these guys prove me wrong every week.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that finish tonight was one for the ages. There's no doubt about that. Rainer Costello, I want to bring you in at this particular point in time, because the first stint, the first lap, that was an awesome start. Dylan Rudd, we saw what he was trying to do. He moved across to the left to try and cover you off. You went around his outside to try and say, well, hang on, if you're going to take my line, I'll take yours. And you made it work, because you held the outside through 1, the inside through 2. You get a safety car, convert off the restart beautifully, lead for the first 20 laps, essentially. But then you got a little bit of a surprise, no doubt, when you all got back on the circuit at the start of the second stint there, and Rehan Leonage had up and undered everybody. He's making a habit of doing that this year.
Yeah, that first stint off the start, Dylan came across, and then I thought, I'll go around the outside. But and credit to Dylan for leaving the space. As Blake said before, he showed great respect. So I'm very lucky that he left the car whip out there for me. But I made it work, and then Rian managed to jump us in the second stint. I wasn't too worried about that at that stage, because I knew he had pit early, so he wasn't on the same strategy as us. He still had 1 extra stop to go, so I was sort of just, the main goal for that stint was to just stick in behind and use him for slipstream to fuel save.
Very smart tactics from you indeed, and very good insight from you as well. Thank you very much. Because I mean, again, we could ask more questions about that first stint, that second stint, but really the main jockeying and dicing for position really came in the back end there. Dylan Rudd sat in behind you, not by choice. He got edged out for the rest of that first stint, and then obviously the elbows were out in the second and third stint there as well. So, no, very well done. And let's press forward here, because obviously next week we go from Brazil back to America. It's been quite an extraordinary season thus far. It continues next week. And let's have a look at the calendar, if we can bring that up on the screen for the benefit of everybody at home. Because we've got Road America in 2 weeks for the final super sprint round of the year and the Triple Crown, and then we've got Summit Point. But next week, it is going to be 45 laps around the Mid-Ohio sports car course. It's an interesting course for IndyCar racing, but I'm interested to get your thoughts on what it's going to be like as a supercar circuit. We'll go to Dylan Rudd first.
Is this Mid-Ohio?
Yes, mate.
Yeah, it's a tough little track, so last time there was a few seasons ago, last official. Yeah, it's a tough track, so it should be interesting. Passing, it's not the greatest place for racing, but we'll see how it goes next week.
Indeed, and it'll be interesting to see if you can continue the form that you found yourself in tonight, because let's be perfectly honest here, Dylan, let's not muck around. Points are at a premium for you at the moment with regards to trying to get back in the championship fight. It was 165, the deficit to Rehan coming into tonight. Yeah, covered him off by 6 positions, so that is going to take it back to 153, but that's still outside a round. I mean, it's a long way back. Something probably needs to go wrong for the guys ahead of you here.
Yeah, I think it would be a tough ask to do anything, do any sort of comeback for championship or the Triple Crown. So, yeah.
All right, mate. Let's press on here. Blake Delaney, I just wanted to ask you one or two more questions, because I feel as though we left you out in all of that. With regards to you're coming on leaps and bounds here at the moment. I reckon there's a win there somewhere down the track. I mean, by virtue of the fact that it's third, second, Jamie got a win last week. Everything's looking up for Fishy Motorsport. What's the plan of attack for the next few weeks for you? And then what sort of a role do you play with regards to the team and the Bathurst 1000? And what are your thoughts on Mid-Ohio while we're at it?
Mid-Ohio's a good track. Ohio, sorry, is a good track. I enjoy the track. Probably would love to get a win, but mate, the competition around here is probably such that isn't going to lend itself unless there's a fuel save race. I thought JP might have pulled a couple of strings for me here with not throwing a safety car at the end there, but I was unlucky enough to have that safety car come, because I think we were right on then. But yeah, look, for the rest of the season, we should just collect as many points, I suppose, and see how we go at the end of the year in the championship. But the goal at the start was to try and get into the 10, and well, it's really in the 10 at the moment, so I think we can reset that. But yeah, pretty happy with that. For Bathurst, Mr. Coleman, who didn't have a great night tonight, we'll jump aboard the 8th, and we've had some good success at Bathurst over the years, so pretty comfortable pairing together for years, so should be good fun.
Could be indeed. Looking forward to it immensely. Just quickly, I don't know if I asked you, had you played on strategy tonight, mate, with regards to the tyres and the like?
Took tyres both stops. Was always going to make it a 2-stop. Easily saved enough fuel. Saved probably too much. Didn't go hard enough early enough. Probably with about 5 laps to go in the second stint. Stopped saving and pushed pretty much to the end. Saved a little bit in the last stint just in case, but
just one of these weeks, and I think it's Road America because we don't have fuel restriction. I'm just looking forward to all you guys getting the elbows out and going full tilt. No fuel saving required. It's going to take the strategy out of the equation, because it's amazing, isn't it? Every week we can write a form guide. Every week these blokes can go out and make us look silly, and they do it very, very well. There's no doubt about that.
tyres and fuel make good races, though.
Oh, of course they do, 100%. But I'm looking forward more so to Road America because of the elbows out nature of, unlike the last Super Sprint round at the Hungaro Ring, we're going to a circuit which lends itself to great racing and great overtaking opportunities, and I think that'll be fantastic in a couple of weeks' time. Jamie Dyke, your thoughts on Mid-Ohio before we start to wrap up here?
I love it. I'm quite confident out of the next handful of rounds that we've got. I'm probably most confident for Mid-Ohio. Really looking forward to it.
I reckon. I don't reckon there'll be too many people overly fond of Summit Point by the time we get there in 3 weeks, but we'll deal with that when we cross that bridge. Rainer Costello, since you're here, your thoughts on Mid-Ohio as well, please.
Well, I haven't raced on it for a few seasons. It was my second ever race in RSRA or NTS at the time, and it was my first time getting a top 10. So it's a fun little track. So we'll see how we go. Should be good.
All right, I'm well and truly out of time here because we thought we'd be out of here before 11 o'clock. We're not going to be. Third place tonight for Jamie Dyke. Lead us off with some thank yous of some sponsors and the like, please, mate.
I'd like to thank, obviously, our sponsors, Black Wolf Graphics, Sideways Photography, DC Shades, Precision Sim Training, and Relax Marine and Game Fishing. Again, the team did an amazing job with all the practice we've done for Interlagos. Me and Blake have done quite a few laps side by side. as did the team boss. And so thanks for all the help, boys. And yeah, thanks for another good round. Everyone in the stewards, broadcast team, it's awesome. Thank you.
Certainly was. No, well done, mate. Congratulations. Another great result for you. They're coming in thick and fast. Late, Blake Delaney, the floor is yours.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Jamie Dyke calls side by side 10 seconds up the road, but anyway, we'll call that side by side, Jamie. But thank you, thanks to the Fisher boys. We had a great week in this track. It was a lot of good fun. Just the sponsors: DC Shades, Black Wolf Graphics, Relax Game, and Marine. Precision Sim Training and Sideways Photography. And just want to say thanks again to everyone that runs the series, JP, Zach, you guys are doing a fantastic job, and Race Control. Tremendous effort. And once again, the boys out there, tremendous amount of respect. Great driving, and just too good.
Indeed, and well done to you, mates. 7th on the grid up to second tonight. Really, in my opinion, a candidate for driver of the night, but JP is going to be the determining judge on that in just a moment. Dylan Rudd, in the meantime, another race win and a much needed one at that. Go for it.
I'd just like to thank all our sponsors, SRT Australia, Racecraft Simulations, Bauer Media, Racing Ears Custom Ear Protection, 83D Printing Services, Cutting Edge Tracks, RSW Graphics, and all the guys at 95 Sim Sport. Big thanks to James Scott for spotting and making the strategy calls tonight. And I'd just like to thank Jamie and Blake and Raina for the mega battle out there tonight.
Excellent stuff, mate. Well done. JP, it's a difficult decision. There were a lot of fine performers out there tonight. Who's the driver of the night in your opinion?
This is a real tough one because there were a lot of great drivers out there tonight. Rainer Costello had an awesome race. He really had charge of the field. Unfortunately, look, a mistake paid to his race. Dylan Rudd, he was at the right place at the right time, and always, like I said during the broadcast, never count him out because he can turn on that speed with a few laps to go and then just absolutely obliterate the competition. Blake Delaney, fantastic drive. So did Jamie Dyke. But I'm actually going to give a special mention to Ben Morris tonight because I think he's finished in 5th place, highest place that he's finished so far in the season, and he's starting to come on song. So I think special mention to Ben. I'm not going to give a driver of the night award per se. I'm just going to give a special mention to Ben Morris.
All right, fantastic stuff. I will say Blake Delaney was impressive, but what was even more impressive when you get to the nooks and crannies of the stats, the top 9 started 1 through 9 and finished 1 through 9 in no particular different order. Of course, Dylan Rudd first, Blake Delaney 7th for 2nd, 6th to 3rd for Jamie Dyke, 4th and 4th for Sean Mcnamara. So something about the 9.5 SimSport boys, their qualifying pace and their race was relative, wasn't it? 8th to 5th for Benny Morris, 3rd back to 6th for Rehan, 5th back to 7th for Dylan Pereira. So where there were winners, there were always going to be, unfortunately, losers as well. Jared Bailey, 9th up to 8th, and Rainer Costello, 2nd down to 9th. Rick Sibber started 10th, finished 11th, but got caught up in that garbage with David Kirby and a couple of others early on. I think Peter Crossing was the only one that escaped unscathed in all of that. Further back through the field, well, Simon Chadwick got caught up in an incident late in the race, and that put pay to Lindsay Hobbs, who was on a charge at the time. He'd gone from 32nd up into 10th at one point. He ended up only gaining 10 positions in all of that. Matty Scholes from 30th up to 18th, and Robert Crisdale 27th up to 16th. So certainly the guys that started down the back end of town worked their way forward throughout the course of the night, and it was all good to watch. But in the end, the top end of town stole the show as only they can and do in the Goodyear Autocare Warana RSRA Super Series. And on that note, we should pay some bills as well and thank some sponsors here for their efforts and their support. Firstly, Goodyear Autocare Warana, DSL Welding, Dragon RC, Blue Stampede, Labour Hire, SDK Gaming, Track Cams for Gourmet, and don't forget, of course, we've got 443 on at Goodyear Autocare Warana at the moment. The 443 deal on selected Goodyear tyres. Buy 3, get 1 free on selected Goodyear passenger and 4x4 tyres. Thanks to Dylan Rudd, who's already left the room. Thanks to Blake Delaney, Jamie Dyke, and Rona Costello for sticking around to the end here as well. Thanks to you at home for your company throughout the course of the evening. But don't go anywhere because there's still plenty to come on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting, wherever you're tuning in, all around Australia or indeed the world. Tomorrow night, Matty Davis, Dean Reddit in here from 8:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time with yet another round of the DSL Welding Super 2 Series, the Interlagos circuit in Brazil, set to play host to sprint racing tomorrow night, and looking forward to that midway point of the season. As we say, 6 rounds down, 5 to go, but that last round counts as 2. It's double points, and it's 3 days of work for 10 of the teams at least, with the shootout on the Saturday. So looking forward to that. JP, you've got one more thing before I look ahead to next week as far as the Goodyear Autocare Warana SuperSeries is concerned?
Oh, I was just wondering whether we wanted to show the championship points.
Oh, actually, that's probably a good idea. I did get your message about that. Then I looked at the clock and thought, oh, geez. No, let's do that. What's a bit of extra overtime, ladies and gentlemen? The championship points at this point, it doesn't tighten up. It extends out nicely for Rehan Leonage. An inch is as good as a mile. 29 points the advantage there at the moment. Dylan Rudd has climbed way back up into the fight, into the top 10 now. Rona Costello, 8.56, 8.52 for Sean Mcnamara, 26, then back to Jamie Dyke on 8.26, who's got a good gap over his teammate Blake Delaney on 7.50, 7.36 for Jared Bailey. Dylan Rudd on 7.31, Dean Alessi 7.04, just ahead of Craig Schultz 7.03, and Simon Chadwick on 672 points. Scroll over the page. Let's continue here. Then Brian Borgia was missing from the grid tonight. Just 1 point clear of David Kirby. 10 back to Matty Scholes. Brian Good, Lindsay Hobbs make up the top 15. And then Benny Morris, a great showing from him tonight, but not much to show for it in terms of the outright championship. He's sitting down in 20th at the moment. Dylan Pereira, again, had it not been for the first couple of rounds, that'd be a lot better haul for him. Sitting down there in 23rd at this point in time. Chris Barnes eliminated on the opening lap tonight, sitting down there in 30th. And this list continues for a fourth page too, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you, folks. Oh, geez, look at that! Hey, look at the presence and the involvement of the amount of drivers that we've seen on the grid throughout the course of the season. Michael Angus, Aaron Dobbell missing from the grid tonight. Cameron Jones as well. Yeah, it just goes to show that if all these guys turn up, that's why we've got a 40-car field entered for the Goodyear Autocare Warana Bathurst 1000. So well done to all those guys. Brilliant performance there. Next week, we head off to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, back to sprint racing. So back to the usual 8:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time to 10:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time window. Hope you've enjoyed the extended edition tonight, the later finish. Some of you will be paying for that tomorrow morning, not least me, but been a great night of racing, as it always is when we go to the Interlagos circuit in Brazil. It's the only track in South America on the iRacing server, and it's the best one, so it's a good choice. And I don't think they need to worry about putting any others in there at the expense of this one, because this stands far and above most of the other circuits in that part of the world. Mexico City, of course, classified as Central America before anyone says, what about Mexico? It's a great track too, but classified as Central America. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it wherever you're tuning in around Australia. Dylan Rudd's night, what might have been for Rona Costello. The Fishy Motorsport boys are coming on leaps and bounds. Good luck trying to pick a winner when we get to December 12 at Mount Panorama, because there's going to be championships, both Triple Crowns and outrights up for grabs, as well as the jewel in the crown. We're just 6 weeks off the Goodyear Autocare Warana Bathurst 1000. 4 great rounds of racing to get to before then, of course, and then the big one on December 12th. Sprint racing, the order of the day for the rest of the season until we get to Mount Panorama. Super sprints in 2 weeks' time, but next week, Mid-Ohio is the port of call, and we're looking forward to your company then. In the meantime, on behalf of JP and the team, thanks for your company, everybody. I'm Zach Caban. From all of us here at the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting, we wish you a very good night.